Hello, good evening. Actually, we're going to have you sit at the head. We're going to make you walk
An
across.
obstacle course.
Right. Physical.
Hi there.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good. We're good. Thanks for making time for us tonight.
Of course.
Cool. So we'll go ahead and get started. My name's Daniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Tonight we're going to ask you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer these 7 questions. If there's any leftover time, you can ask any questions of council. And at the 9-minute mark, I will be keeping time, so I'll let you know that you have about 1 minute remaining.
Sure.
And I just realized that we don't have like a little hand thing on, because we used to do these virtual. This is the first time in like 3 years that we've done this in person, 4 years that we've done this in person. So thank you very much for making it in person. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No.
All right, so Carolina, my first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board or commission at this time?
So I come from Chicago and we moved with my husband just 3 months ago. So I'm very new to Colorado and Denver and Englewood area. What motivates me? I think it's that being part of Chicago City. It's such a big city. I didn't have any belonging before. I moved to US 3 years ago. I am originally from Poland. I studied in Poland architecture and urban design master degree was something that was fantastic. It was a lot of projects with students, but also as citizens of different cities around Poland. So I actually got to be a leader of the project to revive one of the districts in very old Polish neighborhood. And we built a system of branding and marketing, as well as the street designs, events designs for the local community. We built the website, we built the branding, all the merch. So it was a great project. It was 30 people, 30 students that I led. They were divided into 6 different groups. And that experience made me think that I kind of missed that. That was like 10 years ago when I was doing that. Now I'm professionally, I'm a senior designer in UX UI. So I work for brokerage, I design interfaces. So I'm very much into like industrial art sometimes. And yeah, and the community part, I think I missed that. So it was very cool to have influence and also see kids using the stuff that you do and be in events that you organize.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Carolina. Joe.
Good evening, Carolina. I'm Joe Anderson. I'm Mayor Pro Tem and District 3 Council Member. You've already answered this a little bit, but I'll let you talk a little bit more on it. What knowledge and skills or abilities do you bring to this board or commission you've applied for, which is the CAC? And how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood by serving on this board?
Sure. Well, I think I definitely will bring more of a technical knowledge. Definitely, I'm on-hands designer. So if there is any art project to be digitally designed or even actually illustrated, I'm also an illustrator from hobby. So if there's anything that has to be designed for certain events, definitely that skill. So it's Illustrator, Photoshop, Figma for UX, UI, website design, mobile design, iPad design, stuff like that. I'm also right now as a senior designer, I'm actually in my own company being mentored to be a leader. So I'm going through the management process of taking over some more responsibilities from my boss. So I'm professionally trying to get more ahead into my leadership skills and get ahead of things, be more involved in projects. Well, and I hope that my willingness is going to make that good impact on the community. I would love to be more involved in a smaller scale community. Like I said, Chicago was so big, it didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. And I feel like if I meet people from this district, from this area, get to know people, I can be more of that beneficial impact. So I think leadership and technical skills for sure. What more? I guess it's just a Polish humor, which can be sometimes very stale.
Very good, thank you.
Go ahead, Kim.
Welcome. I'm Kim Wright, and I live in District 4 also, but I am one of the at-large council members. Please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Sure. There was 2 projects. I would actually go back to my university projects as well as my professional right now. During my studies, I actually had two projects. One that I mentioned was a district in Poland that I worked with. I had to work with community of residents that were 80, 90-year-olds, and then we had also teenagers. So we have completely different generational views. But also Poland is very much 98% white and Catholic, so there is no racial diversity there by any means. But now at my work, this is my first U.S. job that I have in Chicago, and now I work with everyone from each color, race, different views, and I think it's fantastic because I love diversity. I love working with different views. I think it definitely is about the dialogue. It's about discussing things, not getting too emotional or rote about your own opinions. It's about listening to everyone equally, what everyone can bring to the table, what are their motivations. I think finding the middle ground and definitely seeing what is our goal and aligning with the main goal of what we want to reach is first step. And second thing, how can we get there? What are the tools? Do we have budget? Is there any management tool? What can we do about that? And I think first of all, being open-minded and flexible. I think flexibility is also one of the most important things about the diversity.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4. My question for you is, what do you like most about England?
I actually love Bellevue Park. It was actually probably main reason why we moved. My husband was working on me for 3 years to move from Chicago to Denver. We actually first looked at Littleton just because of the recommendation from other people and our friends. But when we went to Englewood and we saw Bellevue Park, it was actually that reason when I'm like walking through the park, seeing the train. We actually took the train, just two adults next to like all the kids. Like, oh my God, look at this. And then, it was such a sunny day. And then the moment we moved in October, we went to see Bellevue Park again, just for a walk. All the boxes in the garage, we were like just not unpacked at all. But we went to Bellevue Park and all the golden leaves and the river, and it was just beautiful. It just felt like, yeah, I want to be here. I want to spend time here. So Bellevue Park is definitely something. I want to be close to nature. And like I mentioned, Chicago can be everything, but sometimes not nature. A lot of big buildings and busy streets. I also lived beforehand, before I moved to the US, I lived 2 years on scholarship in China, which is very crazy urban area. Beautiful nature, but I definitely crave more of that. So Bellevue Park was one of the most important things. And also actually the train. It's actually next to my home, and I love being connected to Denver. And coming from Europe, using bikes all the time, and trains and trams and anything that's public. I love that opportunity that I can just walk 10 minutes and be in Denver in like 20 minutes. That's fantastic. And more, I'm gonna just underline that I am a little bit ignorant in the sense of just being very new and not knowing everything. I got the Englewood, Christmas edition newspaper, so I'm like reading through what's happening. I definitely have like Instagram also, like what are the events, so I can see what's happening with kids, what's happening with elderly, any like events that are happening in markets. So I'm really happy to see that Englewood is so active, so I really like that direction.
Thank you.
A little bit over 2 minutes left. Go ahead, Rita, sorry.
Okay, welcome, Carolina. And so my question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Englewood regarding probably especially the Cultural Arts Committee? And if you don't have a whole lot, that's fine too.
Yeah, to be honest, I would love to probably be more, if there is a chance for me to get on the board, to be more of a shadow, maybe at the beginning, just to learn what's happening. I did actually catch up with last 5 meetings of art projects. So I saw that the horses at the library were introduced. So I was looking around what the projects are introduced, and also murals. What I would love to see, definitely more art-oriented events, even gardening or sculpture or anything. That's all about budgeting, so it's so tight. I think art, especially in my experience from Poland, art gets to be a little bit pushed to the sidelines, and of course we want to look at water and electricity and all the other demands of the city, and art sometimes does not get enough budget. But I would love to see murals or workshops with kids, introducing anything that can, evolve their creativity or people's creativity. I think we're so roped into our lives without art. And I think introducing any kind of events or projects that can stimulate that creativity would be great. And people can stop by and it's like even do photo of a sculpture and they like it. It's something that, I don't know, I love art in my everyday life. I design everything I can, texture painting, sculpturing, graphic design, illustrations, and I think some people don't have availability to do that, and maybe we can introduce that.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Tina, probably the last question. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Tina Prang. I represent at-large for the city, newly elected. Nice to meet you this evening. So regular attendance and engagement with boards and commissions is required. Will you be able to attend the regularly scheduled meetings or foresee any barriers to attendance?
No, I would. I actually work fully remotely at home and Englewood home for Chicago. So I'm actually 1 hour ahead and I finish like around 4 p.m. So after that, each evening would be free for now.
Great, thank you.
So Carolina, thank you very much for your time. The 10 minutes are up. Yeah, so we'll interview everyone tonight and tomorrow. We'll deliberate any type of placements tomorrow night.
Sure.
You'll hear from the city clerk's office. We actually won't make the final vote on this until February 5th or 6th, whatever that first Monday is of February. And then from there, you'll hear from somebody from the city clerk's office about placement. So thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank
And
you. Thank you for
have a great evening.
You too.
And welcome to Englewood.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
What is that first Monday? Is it the 5th? 6th?
February, I think it's the.
February 5th. Wow, 3 months. Brand new. Good evening.
Hey,
How you doing?
good, how are you?
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, small changes. Good evening, Ms. Hart.
Good evening.
How you doing? I'm
Good.
Daniel Sierra. I think you may know some of us here, but I'm the council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Ms. Hart, we're going to ask you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer the questions.
Okay.
At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know. Actually, I should have let the previous person know. At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know that there's 1 minute remaining. If there is any leftover time, you're free to ask city council any questions that you like.
Okay.
So, any questions before we get started?
No, I don't think so.
All right. So, Ms. Hart, my first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Englewood board at this time?
I've been on this particular board before I think about 10 years ago, and had an issue come up this summer that I didn't think was fair in code enforcement, and I've always taken to somebody taught me a long time ago that if you want to complain about a problem, then you become part of the solution, so.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hart.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Joe Anderson, you know me. My question for you is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities do you bring to CEAC? And how would you provide a positive benefit to Englewood by?
Well, I've been on the committee before, I think for a couple of years, and I did head it up at one point. I also was one of the people that put together the dangerous dog ordinance. So I don't know if that's been revamped since then or not, but, and I've lived in the city for a little over 30 years. Yeah, I'm familiar with the city, with some of the city council members, and you need people that are willing to do it. Like I said, you know, if there's a problem, you need to be part of the solution. And I would like to be part of that.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
My name's Kim Wright. Live in District 4 and I'm at large, newly elected. Can you describe an experience in the past which you have, when you have worked with a group of people that are diverse and sometimes have opposing opinions and views?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I also, besides being on the Code Enforcement Committee, I spent 30 years down at the state capitol as a volunteer lobbyist for the dog show community in Colorado. So I've dealt with a lot of that, and you have a lot of differing opinions, and you have to decide what you have to stand your ground on and then try and get everybody to come into consensus of whatever everybody can agree and get along together. And sometimes it's difficult, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hear that job's getting harder, by the way.
Yeah.
It's much different. That's why I don't do that anymore. I'm retired from this.
What do you like most about Inglewood?
I grew up out in the country, out east of Longmont, and I like, for some reason, even though it's within the metro area, Inglewood still feels like a small town. And over the years, in the years that I've been here, the city council and the city has always been open to hearing from their citizens, and I don't see that. I've also worked with other city governments around the state on dog issues, and I don't see that in a lot of other cities, and I have a lot of respect for that, and I like that. And I love the people in this town. It's a good town.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Hart.
Good
Good to
evening.
see you again.
Good to see you.
I'm Rita Russell. I figured you knew, but what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding probably code enforcement, or since the boarding commission you applied for, where you can say anything you'd like to see improved?
The code enforcement, when I was on the committee before, it was, I see changes in it, and I don't like the changes that I see. One of the issues that I ran up against this summer was after all the rain that we had last spring. I got a notice of weeds on the alley, and it was kind of like, well, it finally stopped raining, sun came out, so yeah, there's gonna be weeds. Took care of that problem, and then 4 or 5 months later, I get a notice that I have 24 hours to get weeds down on the alley. I never go out on the alley unless there's some particular reason to go. And these weeds were maybe 12 inches tall and about 6 feet long, a section, and the rest of everything was fine. That 24-hour notice, I understand that on a snow or something that's dangerous to the public. Weeds are not dangerous to the public. They're not hurting anybody. They're not in anybody's way. I found that overbearing, and it was not fair. And but you know, so like I said, if I complain about something, I want to be part of the solution. I want to see if the code enforcement is going that direction, is that fair to the citizens of Inglewood? And like me, I have a disability that I cannot get out in the heat. And so it was impossible for me to take care of that within 24 hours, get somebody to come over, or for the weather to cool down, that I could go out and do it. And I just thought that was unfair.
Well, I appreciate that, and I happen to be the liaison to code enforcement,
Uh-huh.
and there are a lot of other people
Yeah.
that feel exactly like you do on those things. And we did talk about the violation notice even last, just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
So I just want you to know,
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Tina Prang. I'm newly elected at-large, or not candidate, but
Yeah.
council member now. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I too received one of those notices, so I feel your pain. So my question this evening is that regular attendance and engagement with the board and commission is required. Do you see any barriers to regular attendance or engagement?
That was going to be one of my questions to you. I just, tonight, in fact, right after this meeting, I signed up for some classes. I'm auditing some classes at Denver Seminary. So I'm taking classes Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights until mid-May, I think it is, that they let out. So I wouldn't be available those nights, and that's a concern to me if I need to be. After that, then whatever time I'm required to be at meetings, I will be at meetings. And that has to be part of it, because if you're a committee, you got to meet, you got to work together, and you got to get things done.
What time is your class?
I'm sorry?
What time is your class?
It's supposed to start at 5:30, but I told him I would be late on it.
When the Code Enforcement Advisory Committee meets on Wednesday evening,
The third.
I think we start at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And it's the third Wednesday of the
The
month?
third Wednesday of the month.
Okay. Would that be an issue if I can't make it until May?
It's something that we can talk about. I don't know
Okay.
that there's a whole lot of applicants for code enforcement.
So, no, it's not one of the premier committees to be on. But yeah, other than that, I would be available. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I'm Chelsea Newcamp, City Councilperson for District 2. I appreciate your thoughtfulness to want to reinvest in the city. But I'm curious, if you were to be appointed to the Code Enforcement Advisory Committee, what benefit do you think it might also bring you in your life, either personally or professionally?
Benefit me. What I see out of it is basically, I don't want to see this city in any corner of it become like Highlands Ranch, that it's overbearing for me or for my neighbors or anybody else. That's not fair and that's not good. So, you know, I'd like it to remain the good city that it has been, that it's works with its citizens and works for good resolve. You know, if you have a problem, you know, one of the issues that we had when I was on the committee was cars and vehicles parked on properties. And that was a big issue when I was on that committee. And it's still an issue within the city, but, you know, work with your citizens to get things done. So that's what I want to see. I want to see the city, everybody get along, everybody work together, but get the job done.
That's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the 7 questions. I have a little bit under a minute if you have any questions for us.
I don't think so, just the one that I already asked about being able to make the committee meetings for that period of time.
And was it through May or was it up until May?
It's up through, I think, the middle of May.
May, so definitely. Okay, perfect. I guess, Rita, are they meeting regularly every month or have they council meetings from time to time?
We talked about that we have been meeting every month. We're gonna meet again next month, but if there isn't information, we
Right.
could, so it's possible.
Okay.
And if you're only working to she would miss February and March, well, April.
April as well, yeah, so 3 months.
yeah.
potentially,
Yeah,
3 meetings.
but
Okay. Well, Ms. Hart, thank you very much for making time for us. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve again. And appreciate you coming up to meet us here in person, so.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Have a great evening.
You too.
thank you.
Thank you.
Are you guys able to get into the link?
Nope,
All right. Thought it was just me and user error, but okay.
no.
Anybody have any idea how to pronounce the next last name? Is it Sturbont?
I would say Sturdivant.
I'll have her.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
Hello.
Good evening. How you doing?
I am well, how are you all?
We're doing well. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So Catherine, how do you pronounce your last name?
Sturdivant.
Sturdivant. I was way off.
That's okay. I'm graceful.
Well, Ms. Sturdivant, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're gonna ask you 7 questions here. You'll have 10 minutes to answer the questions. At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know that you have about 1 minute remaining. If there is any time remaining, then you can ask City Council any questions that you happen to have. So, any questions before we get started?
No.
All right, so I guess I should have introduced myself. My name is Othaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as member for the city. And my question for you, Catherine, is what motivates you to apply for a Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, well, I love my city. You probably hear that a lot. I was able to chair was called Keep Inglewood Beautiful, now Sustainability, several years ago, and I loved it. I loved it for a few reasons, and all those reasons are why I'm kind of back at it. One is just connection. I really love people. I'm in the people business at work, but being able to connect and get to know people that I kind of live with in my neighborhoods is really important to me. So that's the first one, is really wanting to connect with other citizens. I think the second thing is just being able to contribute, right? Everyone has talent, skills, make our city even better. And so I want to lean into mine as a networker and be able to contribute to the city, make it even better. And I think the last one too is I have kiddos now. And that was one of the things that got me interested in Parks and Rec specifically, is I literally survived the pandemic because of the parks in Inglewood. If I didn't, right? Just the grass, the slide. I really do believe that I'm a healthy person right now because of access to parks.
And so I want to make sure that other people have that same access. So, yeah, a few reasons why I'm interested now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Joe?
Good evening, Mr. DeWitt. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 representative and Mayor Pro Tem as well. And my question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, or abilities do you bring to the Parks and Rec Commission that you've applied for? And how would the city benefit by your service on that committee?
Yeah. So I have some context of how commissions kind of work and the way in which, you know, we engage both as citizens, but then also with city council, things like that from the previous People and Beautiful. So I think just some context about kind of how things work would be helpful. I also, because of just my job, I do training for a cybersecurity company. So I do a lot of kind of what I like to call context explaining, right? Is so like, this is how we do things, this is why we do things. And so I think that would lend really well into that commission. I also think because I'm really people focused and I also have an equity mindset that I can bring that to how we make decisions, who the decisions are impacting, whether that's people in the room or people in our community. I think I can think about that in a broad picture. And I think the other thing too is because I like people and just kind of being in a collaborative space, I think that I bring a lot of positive energy. I know that there was one gentleman I worked with in the Sustainability Committee who had been around for about 15 years. And one of the biggest things that he said he appreciated about me then was I just brought energy. And he was like, we just need people who are kind of fresh and looking at things in a different way to kind of challenge that status quo and people who have been doing it. So my hope is that I could bring that as well.
Very good, thank you.
Kim?
Hi there. Hi. My name is Kim Wright and I'm an at-large council member. Can you describe an experience in the past which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Yes. So this was a long time ago. I'm sure this is not going to be news to you all, but when I was on the board last time, we started conversations around a single service trash provider. Have you heard about this? This city has such a fun history with that, right? And so the board, the city council at the time had gone to the board to get insight, and that was a really fun conversation. You learn a lot about folks, right? Like we get passionate about things, something as simple as trash or recycling. And so during that conversation, there were a few times where I know I had to kind of use my skills and just say, let's everyone just take a deep breath and let's kind of zoom out here. We're talking about something important, yes, and we're also not saving babies right now. Like we can just take a minute to kind of keep things in perspective. So I think for me, the role that I usually play is to try to bring like a lightness to really intense or complex conversations or scenarios to kind of just remind people that we are doing really cool and important things, and we're also not, we're not in an ER right now. So during that time, it was a lot of advice giving and opinions and having to kind of hear all those perspectives while also kind of keeping everyone grounded in, we weren't decision makers at the time, we were just information sharers.
Thank you.
Wow. I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, which is the district you live in. I'm still twitching a little bit from the single holler talk. Where were you when I was carrying that bag of cats? What I want to know.
That's a hot topic.
What do you like the most about Inglewood?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I'm not kidding when I say it's the parks. I should be getting paid for how much I talk about parks in this area. No, but really it's the accessibility. Like I live in the Rotolo park area, and so I can walk to 3 parks from my house. And so when you have littles and you have a lot of, just like kids in your life, I think that's really important. I've even had people come to visit me who don't have kids, and we go and hang out at Bellevue Park and ride the train. So I think for me, it's the green space and accessibility. I also really have appreciated as a citizen how well the city has been doing with communication. So for example, because the intersection of Oxford and Santa Fe is really big for me, when we had that sinkhole, I was really aware of what was going on. I knew kind of timelines. Not only did I see the work, but I was able to have all these different platforms like Instagram, right, and email to keep me up to date. So I really appreciate that the city of this size does a really good job of communication. And then I also just think that I really appreciate the transparency that the past city councils you all are doing to make change. Right? There's some city councilors that are like, everything's hunky-dory, it's fine, let's just keep going on. But I think this city is really innovative in wanting to do what we're doing well, let's do it, but then let's also change the things we need to change. So those are a few reasons I love it.
Good evening, Mr. Bond. My name's Rita Russell. I'm an at-large council member. What would you like to see improved in Inglewood? Because Parks and Rec is what you're interested in, especially in that area.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is Inglewood, we've got folks from kind of all different backgrounds. My kiddos are friends with kiddos that are in the same socioeconomic status, also friends with kiddos who are in a different socioeconomic status. So maybe not have access to things as much as my kiddos do. And the parks, I think, because they're free, are really important for play and just making kids feel like they have a really fun and safe childhood. So I think it would be really great to see what could happen with better partnerships with schools. I don't really know what that looks like, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of hungry parents who want to do things with their kids, especially outside, because we can be outside most of the year, but they just don't know how, or they don't really know when, or they don't really want to do it by themselves, so they need other parents there. So I just think that the school community and the Park and Rec community can work even more beautifully together.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Tina Prang. I'm a newly elected city council member at large. First off, I wanted to thank you for your comments on communication. That's not something we hear often.
Yeah.
We tend to hear the opposite, so it's nice to hear that some people are feeling like they're getting the information that's needed out there. My question is around regular attendance and interaction with the board and commission. Do you see any barriers to being able to regularly attend meetings or be a regular engager of the group?
Overarchingly, no. That was one question. I don't know if it's time to ask a question, just clarification on the day. But in terms of overall commitment and consistency, no goals.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Chelsea Camp, City Councilperson for District 2. I appreciate your willingness to reinvest back into the city, but if you were to be appointed to the Parks and Rec Board, how do you think that it would benefit you, either personally or professionally?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, so as a trainer, I did all of my training in person. And then, of course, life changed with the pandemic. And so I do most of my trainings for a virtual audience, and I miss people. To be honest with you, I really do. I miss that connection. And so I think for me, like Catherine as a person, it will bring me back to having that connection that I don't really have in a professional sense. But then also just professionally, I don't know about you all, but sometimes I feel like my in-person social skills are a little off. Does anyone else feel like that for the past few years? So I'm like, I can maybe use practice.
Other people tell me that all the time.
Right?
I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. So it's just an opportunity to kind of refine me as a professional and as a person. But then also I've never engaged with, Park and Recs in a formal sense. So I think for me it would just be fun to learn about how decisions are made, the scope of decision making, and then really learning just what the commission really does in and out. So I think just being a learner, getting a new opportunity to learn.
That's great. And I'm sure someone else has also looked this up, but the Parks and Recreation Commission meets the second Thursday of each month at 5:30.
Okay, then no. Based on your
Mr.
question, no.
So, Mr. Erdevant, thank you very much for your time. That is the 10 minutes.
Okay.
We're going to go through our decision-making process. Tomorrow night, we won't make formal decision until the Monday, the 5th of February, and then at that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you about it. So,
Okay.
Thank you very much for your
Okay,
time.
thank you.
Yeah, it was
Really
great.
appreciate it.
Thank
I know y'all have a lot of things going on this evening, so good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Take care.
Bye-bye. Next up is Lynn Peterson.
Who's next? I'm sorry.
Lynn Peterson. So we have our next two, and then we're gonna have a break since Cassandra is sick and won't be able to make it tonight. Trying to get her scheduled tomorrow night.
packet order does not match the interview order.
No, it does
No.
not.
See which one of
Right
those
now,
ones?
it's
I
not
made
over.
bookmarks.
Good evening.
Hi.
How you doing? Ms.
Good, how are you?
Peterson? Yeah, thanks for making it out tonight.
Of course. How is everyone else doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
We're glad to have these back in person again. First time in 4 years, so.
Oh, wow.
I know. Ms. Peterson, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. My name is Nathaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as the mayor for the city. I'm going to be asking you, or we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer the questions. I'll try my best to remind you at 9 minutes that you have 1 minute left.
Yeah.
I've been pretty bad at it so far. But if there's any time remaining, you can ask any questions of us.
Awesome.
So,
Sounds good.
any questions before we get started?
No.
All right. So Ms. Peterson, my question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood Board at this time?
Yeah, thank you. I moved to Englewood from Denver about 3 years ago and had the privilege of buying a home. During that time, it was obviously COVID, and I didn't really even feel comfortable kind of knocking on my neighbor's door to introduce myself. I was like, is this, would you feel comfortable with this? And so I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, how do I get involved? I've really loved kind of diving into the food and culture scene, but it's not as easy to kind of connect with businesses in a natural way that way, or I haven't found it to be. So I would really love to just get involved in my local community and feel a lot more connected to my neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Peterson.
Good evening, Ms. Peterson. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Representative and Mayor Pro Tem. My question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, or ability would you bring to the board or commission you applied for? And how would the city benefit in a positive way from your service on the board?
Yeah, thank you. I work for a youth serving nonprofit that works very deeply in Denver public school system. So I have a background in sort of macro, big picture social work. I've actually transitioned to the operations department. So I would say right now I have this social work lens, this approach to working with community, with young people. I am an event planner. I love coordinating logistics. I love connecting different businesses and young people. I can facilitate different events. I'm familiar with program design, and I'm just really excited to support planning of cultural events in Englewood and get people there.
Very good, thank you.
Kim.
Hey there, how are you? I'm Kim Wright, and I'm one of the at-large council members. Real quickly, I wanted to make sure, is cultural arts your primary choice or the Englewood Housing Authority?
Yeah, I noticed on the notes that I put it as my second one, probably cultural arts, but I am really open to both.
Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe an experience in the past where you've worked with a group of people that are diverse and sometimes opposing perspectives and views?
Yeah, absolutely. Every day at work. So I work with both with young people. I've facilitated groups with young people who are 12 years old, right? All different ethnic and racial backgrounds, queer identities, not queer identities, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and trying to bring them together sometimes. Bringing together any 12-year-old together in a room is something that I am able to do and comfortable naming the differences and kind of sitting in that and remaining calm and helping navigate and address conflict. So that's one example. I also have been a supervisor for a number of years at the nonprofit that I work at, helping people navigate especially DEI issues, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging issues. Can be really uncomfortable, but something that I'm familiar with as part of the senior leadership team.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4. And my question for you is, what do you like most about Englewood?
I really love that Englewood has this I really love the Hamden and Broadway area in Englewood, the little downtown area. I particularly love the amount of live music that happens. I feel like it's kind of underrated. There's a lot of access to free live music in the Englewood area, and I really appreciate how it's not overwhelming like Denver can be, right? I've started to notice who the owners are of different businesses and see them engaging with each other, both
digitally, and then also kind of like at the grocery store, I'll like see them buying groceries for their restaurant, right? So I kind of love that small knit, close knit feeling that I feel.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Peterson. My question, and I'm Rita Russell, council member at large. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions you're applying for?
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that I think would be really cool, maybe especially for the Cultural Arts Commission, is just more awareness of the events that are going on that they've put on. I've been able to find some of those things by doing a lot of digging, but I think it'd be really cool to look into more marketing aspects. You know, I know a lot of people in my social group kind of have no idea about it unless I send it to them. I'm also a member of the queer community, and I would love to see more engagement with kind of queer inclusive spaces in Denver along with the arts. I think that's something that has been difficult to find just recently moving here.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm newly elected at-large council member. And my question is around regular attendance. So obviously that's very important if you're appointed to a board or commission. Do you see any barriers to you having regular attendance at meetings?
I do not.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Easy and quick question.
I'm Chelsea Gam, City Councilperson for District 2. Thanks for being willing to reinvest in your community. I'm curious, if you were to be appointed to one of these boards, how do you think it might benefit you personally or professionally?
Yeah. I think I'm extroverted, and I'm really excited to get to know people here and build that community, and also have a task, like be given the tasks to, you know, collectively in the commission, where I can go out, come back to the next meeting in the next month and have action items that I've been successful with. I also am sure that the organization that I work for, you know, maybe there's cultural arts events that young people could attend from our organization, vice versa. We'd love to get involved more in the Inglewood area.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Ms. Peterson, you actually still have 3.5 minutes left, so
Oh,
have any questions for us?
Star.
You know, I think it's fairly obvious I haven't done a commission or board before. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, you know, what the Cultural Arts Commission might be interested in the next year, if anyone here knows, or awesome, yeah, or like different skills that you are looking for.
Chelsea's the liaison.
Oh, awesome.
So go ahead.
Should have mentioned that in my intro.
No, it's okay.
The CAC is working on some really cool stuff right now, specifically around new physical art in our medians on Hampton. And they picked some really cool pieces that are going in soon, and then they're adding some more all along the Hampton corridor between Santa Fe and University, as well as work on experiential art in a lot of city events and more mural projects this year. So there's a lot of that happening. I think the biggest tip I give folks when they're interested in the board and commission is they're citizen-led. And so I'm there really to watch and observe and answer questions if it's useful, but it's about you guys realizing your ideas. It's also helpful to know that we reserve 1% of our capital budget every year for public art in the city, and the Cultural Arts Commission gets to expend that budget on public art each year.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I can give you 2-ish minutes back.
Yeah, there we go. So Ms. Peterson,
Gold stars.
Yeah. So we'll deliberate placement tomorrow night, but we won't make the official announcement until February 5th. At that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placement.
Wonderful.
So thank you very much for showing interest, and thank you for wanting to serve your community, and we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, thanks for your time tonight.
Yeah, have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right, so Eric Johnson is up next.
Just go ahead and take one of those seats back there, and you're good to go.
Good evening, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
We're doing well. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Mr. Johnson, actually, I should probably turn off the last one. Mr. Johnson, I'm Othaniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Tonight, we're going to ask you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know that you have a minute left. If there's any time remaining at that time, then you can ask any questions of us. So any questions before we get started?
No, let's do it.
All right, so Mr. Johnson, my first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Sure. I just have a passion for giving back to the community, for getting involved. Frankly, we're new to Englewood. You met my wife earlier, Carolina, and we're both very passionate about getting involved, meeting people, collaborating with the community, getting to know our neighbors. And what I like about Englewood, I know this is kind of a question later, is that there is, like, we feel a sense of belonging already. And we want to further that. We see an opportunity here where we come from Chicago, it's a big city, there's a lot of things established there. Here it feels like there's so much opportunity to influence what's around us. So, yeah, that's why.
All right, good reason. Thank you so much. Joe?
Good evening, Mr. Johnson. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Representative and Mayor Pro Tem. My question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the boards and commissions you've applied for, Budget Advisory or Code Enforcement Advisory Committee, and how would the city benefit from your service on those boards?
Sure. Well, professionally, I've spent a lot of time in the software and technology industry. One of the most recent roles I had was as a software executive at McDonald's Corporate, and that's a very political landscape. Yeah, I had to manage a multi-million-dollar budget there for different software vendors and consultants. And there's a lot of different opinions and diverse schools of thought that come into play there. I was responsible for designing the app, the kiosk systems, and a lot of different, bringing technology together, but also deploying that across different cultures, literally different continents around the world. So we had to work with a lot of different opinions and kind of bringing people together to work towards one common goal. It's hard to develop an app that everyone uses around the world, and everyone has a different opinion on how to approach something like that. So I have a keen eye towards the nuances of financial intricacies and the budget, and I had to make challenging trade-offs there. So I'd love to be able to bring that kind of lens to, especially from a technical point of view, to the budget here at Englewood and offer some fresh budgets. Similar to maybe like the public sector, I've spent time on 2 different HOA boards when I was in Chicago before we moved here. I love that. And I had to work again with people who had different opinions there. I loved getting into the budget, especially. My wife thinks I'm crazy for that, but those are things that get me excited. Like, how can we scrutinize something or look at a more creative way to solve something? We had some challenging projects that were successful in the end that I was able to navigate, and I want more of that. So,
very good. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm Kim Wright. I'm at large, one of the 3 council members. Can you please describe an experience in the past during which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Yeah, well, if I draw from my experience as president of an HOA board recently in Chicago, we had both commercial owners, business owners in our condo building, as well as, homeowners. And we had a very challenging sewer issue to deal with. I learned way more about the sewers than I ever thought I would. And I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to know all of the nuances of how this works and what the actual true problems were to solve. We had, as you can imagine, business owners who had a different perspective on what the problem was, were sure of it, versus homeowners who had a certain perspective as well. And, a belief that we should have garbage disposals in the building and a belief that we should not, and we should be able to flush this and that. So there were different opinions that we had to navigate, and the way that I approached it was by digging into the problem and being very transparent about it. I was able to, get into the details, articulate and define the actual problem, and that was effective at removing the emotion from a lot of the different stakeholders in this situation. I had to get buy-in across the board from homeowners, from the business owners. It took away time from business owners who had to actually vacate their premises for several days to get the work done. So I presented lots of options, and we ultimately solved the problem. It was a success. And then we got the budget back on track quickly. We also thought about that as well.
Never flush wipes.
I
My
learned that.
husband's a plumber, so. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, which I believe is where you live. And my question for you is, what do you like most about Englewood?
Well, the reason we moved to Englewood was Bellevue Park. We just immediately fell in love. When we rode the train, we just noticed that there was this dedication to community here and investment and a desire to create neighborhoods. We love that. That's what we were looking for. And we immediately could see ourselves here, growing here, being part of the community, giving back to the community. That was the first thing that drew us here. We love that there's this commitment to kind of a strategy, a plan. It's all published online. We've read that. And my wife and I were like, how can we get involved with this right away? Because this is something that we see ourselves being here for a long, long time. It's a great place. There's different initiatives, there's different programs for people. I think that's just the mark of a really high quality community that, I just see myself part of for a long time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Johnson. My name is Rita Russell. I'm a council member at large. And my question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Englewood regarding the boards and commissions you applied for?
Yeah, I've spent a little bit of time kind of reviewing some of the meetings that are online, and there was one thing that stuck out to me. We're new here, but there was some things that I tried to pick up on that I could help with. And I noticed in one of the meetings that there was an opportunity around process and project management, things like this. It was, I believe, Joe Eisenbart, the IT director, who spoke about some of the problems or challenges that the IT department faces in kind of being reactive to problems or solutions, kind of being served solutions, and then not feeling like they're a part of actually what they're trying to solve. And I think this can result in, not having investment in the solution and potentially going down a path where we've spent a lot of money and time and not efficiently solving the problem and having to maybe pivot to another solution. So I think where I can help here is I led a lot of different workshops when I still do today across different disciplines and people. And I see an opportunity to do kind of a test and learn methodology. Can we prove something out? Can we try something before we get fully invested in it? Can we work across different departments? What can we do to help foster that communication a little bit better so that, for example, the IT department is bought in on the solution before, or bought in on the problem before the solution comes to them. So I would look to things like that. I want to see even more collaboration between departments. What kinds of processes or systems can we put in place to solve that?
Okay, thank you very much.
We have about 90 seconds left. Go ahead, Tina.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Tina Prang. I'm a newly elected city council member at large. Nice to meet you this evening. My question is really easy comparatively. Regular attendance and engagement in boards and commissions is very important. Do you see any barriers to your attendance or engagement with the groups that you apply to?
No barriers. Excited to be here in person with everybody. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I'll round us out. I'm Chelsea Newton-Camp, City Council Member for District 2. Thanks for being willing to give back to your community. If you are appointed to one of these boards, how do you think it might benefit you, either personally or professionally?
I see it as mutually beneficial, of course, to me, but also to the community. Professionally, I see it as my involvement will give me valuable insights into the budget process or how things are decided, the decision-making that happens behind the scenes, and it'll enhance my leadership and analytical skills. I think it's something that I've played a role in, as I've described, in HOA boards, but this is something that I'm really excited to sink my teeth into. I am already on the HOA board here, and I want to be able to kind of bring the community together for myself and for my neighbors around me. On a personal level, it allows me to kind of deepen my connection to Englewood. Like I spoke about earlier, just I want to meet people, I want to collaborate with people to solve challenging problems.
Thanks.
Mr. Johnson, your 10 minutes are up. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're going to deliberate tomorrow night in terms of placement of, after we meet all the applicants. We'll make a final decision on Monday, February 5th, and then at that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out.
Great.
Thank you very much for making time, and
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for willingness
Thanks,
to serve.
everybody. Yep.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Do we just keep going, or do we need a break, or just, I see that we have a break like in 20 minutes, so I say we keep going since they're here.
Rick's here, if you're ready, just keep going.
Yeah, I think we just move along.
Later call for 6, so.
Sure. So it's Rick.
Who's next?
I thought it was Eric. Is it Eric?
That was
That was
Eric.
Eric. That was Eric.
Rick.
Eric.
Eric. Sorry.
Thank you, Jackie. Good evening.
Thank you.
How you doing, Eric?
Well,
Eric, how do you pronounce your last name?
Montiel.
Montiel. Mr. Montiel, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. I'm Nathaniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. We're going to be asking you 7 questions here tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer the questions. If there's any time remaining, you could ask any questions of us, and I'll try my best to remind you that we have about 1 minute left. So,
Okay.
Any questions before we get started?
I don't think so, huh?
All right. So, Mr. Montanel, my question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Nathaniel, I'm interested in being part of the planning and zoning board in order to help shape the city's future and to make sure that the Inglewood that I know maintains that level of sustains that level of community that we've all come to know and like.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Montiel. Joe Anderson. We've met before, so good to see you again, sir. What knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and how would you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on that board?
That's a good question, Joe. I think that, I think I'll bring a fairly robust set of skills to the city of Inglewood. I'm a real estate agent and a small local developer. In the past couple of years, I've built a single-family home on a small lot, 3,250 square foot lot. I have been through the administrative adjustment process on a piece of land that I have on Galapago and Bellevue. We also completed a minor subdivision on that. Tomorrow, I have a design review team meeting to split those lots a little bit further in order to build 4 small, affordable homes that kind of mimic the size and feel of the city. I think that my vision for the growth of the city is closely aligned with the people in the city's vision as well.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hi, I'm Councilmember Wright. At large, can you please describe an experience in the past which you worked with a group of people that are diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Oh, sure. I don't want to say years ago, but I'm getting up there. I was in charge of building a 3,000 square foot retail store in South Coast Plaza Mall, which is in Orange County, California. And there was a big group on the team. We had the board of directors for a public company. We had contractors, merchandisers, buyers, designers, even PGA golf professionals, and they all had different ideas, which was a little bit challenging, but what I was able to do was actively listen to everybody, find out what their values were, find out what any underlying motives may be, and then come to some core agreements upon what's the best direction to take to get the store built and have it end up being profitable.
I'm Steve Lord, I represent Council District 4. My question for you is, what do you like most about Inglewood?
Steve, what I like most about Inglewood is are the people and the community. I was born, well, I wasn't born, but I was raised in Inglewood, in a portion of Inglewood that is now Greenwood Village. And I lived in Highlands Ranch for 20 years before moving back to Inglewood. I've been here for 4 years now. And yeah, I've met more friends and have more relationships with business owners and so forth in the last 4 years than I was able to develop in 20 years in Highlands Ranch. So I would say the people in the community for the most part.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Montiel. I'm Rita Russell, and we spoke on the phone.
We have.
And so my question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions you appoint to?
You know what, I followed the code next pretty well. I don't think I'm close enough to what's going on right now to really be able to pinpoint what needs to be improved. I actually think it's running pretty well right now for just a citizen of Inglewood. But should I be elected and I notice something, then I'll definitely bring that to the attention of the Planning and Zoning Committee and the City Council if needed in order to help shape the future of the city. But right now, I don't really have any, I don't have any one subject that I could pinpoint and say this needs to be improved.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm a newly elected council member at large. And my question is around attendance and engagement. So obviously that's very important if you're appointed to a commission or a board. Do you see any barriers to regular attendance or engagement with planning and zoning?
No, Tina, I don't see any barriers to regular attendance and engagement in on the board. No, I actively attend city council meetings now, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
This will just be a little more. I'm looking forward to it.
Good evening, I'm Chelsea Camp, City Councilperson for District 2. I'm curious how if you were appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, how do you think it might benefit you personally or professionally?
You know, I already benefit personally and professionally from the city of Inglewood, right? My real estate business is all in Inglewood, whether it's helping people buy or sell. I typically help people buy and sell homes that have carriage houses. In fact, that's why I moved back to Inglewood, is because my home on Quincy and Clarkson has a historic carriage house, which I bought because as my mom gets up there in age, I've always told her, hey, you won't be going to a nursing home, but I didn't necessarily want her in my house, so finding the home that had the carriage houses is great because she'll be able to maintain a bit of self-independence and still have me right there should she need any help. Probably the biggest gain would be personally, because I intend to help homeowners go through the process of building ADUs and so forth, so they can, right now I'm enjoying the rental aspect of it, but as my mom gets up in age, then she'll be able to move in and that'll be, quite enjoyable as well. So I think just being able to have a better understanding of what people can do in the process and so forth as I go out and help other people achieve what they can do on their own property will be probably the biggest benefit personally.
All right, Mr. Montiel, you got a little less than 2 minutes left. Any questions for us?
I really don't have any questions for you.
Can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
So I would actually like to know, because of the business that you own in the city, Do you see that there could be a conflict of interest since planning and zoning is the committee that deals with all land use issues?
I don't think that would be a conflict of interest, Rita. I was speaking with Brian Isham about this, right? With Code Next being so recent, going into effect back on October 26th, I think that, I don't think there's going to be any changes to the code. I don't think any special exceptions are going to be given. No, so I don't think there would be a conflict of interest.
So do you think, what about voting on projects that you have? I mean, the Planning and Zoning Commission votes on projects that come before them in the city of Inglewood.
He hasn't had a project that isn't used by right so far in the city.
Yeah,
So far,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just asking.
I think that my goal as a small-time guy in the city of Inglewood is to comply and use the code to the community's best interest. No, I don't think there'd be any conflict of interest.
Well, if there was a conflict of interest, and maybe Sergio could speak to this, if you did have one of your projects come before P&Z for some reason, what would be his responsibility if that was?
Under the handbook, there was nothing to this provision. I'm actually looking at this right now under the Code of Ethics under 11.1 in the Muni Code. And it appears that the Code of Ethics does apply to boards and commission members. I'm reading the whole thing right now.
Okay, so it require recusal, I presume.
So I haven't looked at the bylaws either, but yes, any direct conflict of interest on any board decision-making would require recusal of that individual from that decision-making.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just wouldn't have the ability to vote on something like a project.
And let me ask you this. So Title 16 is the living document. Changes could come up that could affect you. What about your decision-making with that? I mean,
I don't know what Title 16 is.
Code
Yeah, Code
Next.
Next.
Oh, I think Code Next is a broad enough code that I will be able to comply within the code without any
So let me give you an example.
Sure.
Actually,
We're probably about.
Mr. Wright, yeah, I think, we're past time, and I think this is probably a discussion we will have tomorrow
Okay,
night
okay.
as part of this, but I think,
Perfect.
yeah, and we'll involve the attorneys
Okay,
at that point as well.
fantastic.
Mr. Montiel, thank you very much for your time
Thank you.
tonight. We'll be discussing placement tomorrow night. We'll make final placement on Monday, February 5th.
Oh, that's my
Thank you very
birthday.
much. Cool. Oh, well, there you go.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Thank you for making time for us tonight.
Thank you.
Noah Kaplan.
All right, we got Noah. Just want to find a seat, one of those back there. All right, thanks.
Good evening. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. Mr. Kaplan, thank you very much for making time for us tonight.
Yeah.
My name's Nathaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Tonight, Mr. Kaplan, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. At the 9-minute mark, I'll try my best to remind you that there's only 1 minute left, and then if there's any time remaining, you can ask any questions of us. So, you ready to begin? Sure. Mr. Kaplan, my first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Well, at this time, I would say I'm about to start a new job where I'm going to be working from home. So I'll be spending all my time in Inglewood instead of commuting back and forth into Denver. And so, just really looking for ways to get more involved with the community. I've lived in Inglewood now for 8 or 9 years. Been involved some with the school district and, less so with the city. I really like a lot of the things that I see happening in Inglewood, and I'm interested in finding ways to contribute to that.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Kaplan. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Representative and Mayor Pro Tem. My question for you is, what knowledge or skills or abilities would you bring to, if you applied for the Transportation Advisory Committee and Planning and Zoning Commission, What skills would you bring to that, and how would you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on one of those commissions?
Sure. So the reason I prioritized the Transportation Advisory Board is that I'm a cyclist both for exercise and for transportation. So I'm really interested in the direction the city is taking with multimodal transportation options. I think Inglewood has a really good opportunity to be sort of the quintessential like 15-minute city, and I think we're doing a lot of the right things, and I would really value contributing to that. So I have that perspective as someone who does get around a lot without a car, in kind of what things we can do and should do for people who do that like me by choice, but also people who do it because that's how they get around, and that's they don't have cars. So there's lots of good reasons I think to support multimodal transportation. Outside of that particular experience, so I'm a licensed attorney here in Colorado. I've practiced mostly in contracts and procurement space, but have experience in dealing with legal and regulatory matters of a variety of types. So that's an expertise that I would bring into this as well. I think I'll stop there.
Very good. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Kim Wright. I'm one of the at-large council members. Please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Sure. So I have spent my entire career in the nonprofit and public sectors. One of the roles that I had, I was the Director of Legal and Policy for the Colorado Charter School Institute. Charter schools are an interesting political space when it comes to sort of, people coming at the issue from different political perspectives. And so within, we had to work, I was part of the leadership team of the organization, and we also had a board that was appointed partially by the governor and had to be politically split by statute. And so we had to manage those interests as well. And the way that I went about thinking about that role was really the way that I think about, a lot of, work and goals is figuring out, sort of what the vision is and where you're trying to get. And then, really using that as your touchstone for your strategy and how you're going to move forward. And so I think that when you can make things as tangible as possible, in this case, it was around, how are we going to improve educational outcomes for the students that are in these schools that we've chartered? You can sort of strip away some of those disagreements and some of the stuff that's more, bigger picture, I guess, and really get down into, we have a goal, and then let's come up with, what our theory of change is for how we're going to pursue it and go that direction. So that's the way that I like to pursue those kinds of disagreements.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, and my question for you is, what do you like the most about Inglewood?
Oh man, I think the thing that I like most about Inglewood is the size. It's like the perfect size city. I love that that we have opportunities like this to get involved, and like it's that we have a lot of people who are interested in these boards and commissions, but it's not like being in Denver where you can go down pretty deep into the administration and it's still a competitive political sort of environment. I really love the size of Inglewood. Like I mentioned before, like also just the physical size of it. Like it's great that I'm, we're so close to my kids' schools, and we have all of these different community amenities. The Parks and Rec system is great, everything, to be sort of so, both physically and then like civically close to all of that is really, I think, just a perfect fit. So that's what I like most about Inglewood. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Kaplan. My name is Rita Russell, and I'm a council member at large. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions which you applied to?
Yeah, so, I mean, I mentioned before that I really do like a lot of the change that I'm seeing in Englewood and a lot of the direction that the city is going. So I don't want to give the impression that like I'm doing this because I want to, you know, change something dramatically. It's more that I want to support and be a part of that. You know, I mentioned before that I am a cyclist, and so I do, you know, I do have opinions about, you know, things that we can do to make things, you know, most importantly, safer for people to get around without a car. You know, easier is great, but safer is, you know, the most important thing. So that's really the sort of number one, you know, driving interest that I have in that particular committee. But you know, I really it's just I want to you know, support Englewood's identity as a place that's you know, that's welcoming and a place that's inclusive, and that we've you know, built a community that anybody can come in and you know, build a good life for themselves and their family. And I think we're doing a lot of the right things, and I'd love to support that.
Great, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
No introductions necessary. It's good to see you here this evening and see you stepping up and having some interest in serving at a different level within the city. So I have a very easy question this evening, and it's all around attendance and engagement. So for the two groups, the Transportation and Advisory Board and Planning and Zoning, do you see any barriers to regular attendance or engagement in those groups?
I don't think so. I don't know the specifics of exactly off the top of my head when, you know, they meet and all of that. But like I said, I'm about to, as of next week, go into a job where I will be almost 100% remote. So I will be very flexible in my time. And, you know, that will allow me to arrange with family when I need to for, you know, different evenings and whatever the time commitment is. So I don't see any barriers at this time.
Great. I have just one follow-up question too. Do you have a strong preference between the two boards that you applied for?
No, I don't. I know that, you know, just based on the list that I looked at, it looked like I might be the only person that put the transportation position on there, but I don't have a strong preference for one of them.
Thank you.
One minute left.
I'm Chelsea Needham, City Councilperson for District 2. Thank you for being willing to reinvest back into your community. I'm curious, if you were appointed to one of these boards, how do you think it would benefit you, either personally or professionally?
Benefit me. Well, I think, you know, I live here, and it would certainly benefit me to the same degree that I hope it would benefit everybody in the community, is, you know, doing the work of making Englewood, continuing to make Englewood a great place to live. I mean, I also think it's just, you know, it's a great learning opportunity. There's, you know, a lot. I mean, I'll be the first to admit what I don't know, which is, you know, a lot about this. This would be new for me. So, but I love that, you know, opportunity to meet other people who are, you know, interested in being civically engaged, and to learn more about, you know, the issues impacting Englewood as a community, and to work with those people to do good work.
Great, thanks.
Perfect. And that is 10 minutes, Mr. Kaplan.
Right.
Yeah, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're gonna go ahead and deliberate assignments at the end of tomorrow night. We won't make a final decision until Monday, February 5th. So at that time, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placement. But thank you very much for making time for us tonight and for your interest in serving.
Yes, thank you all.
Have a good evening, Mr. Kaplan.
Thank you.
Rick let us know that he would not be interviewing tonight,
Okay.
so I've got Jacob here.
Okay, so, perfect.
And then you guys have break after Jacob.
Okay, sounds good.
He just said pulled out. Okay. So we have 2 virtual tomorrow, and we're still trying to get a hold of Cassandra to see if she wants to do virtual tomorrow. She has strep throat, so that's why she couldn't come tonight.
Oh,
So we did offer her the virtual
Dang it,
tomorrow.
Mark. Rick applied for everything with the
The
same
one that dropped out.
those are those appointments.
Summerson, Shop Summerson? Summerson, the 6:31. Yep. All right, so I'll bring Jacob back in.
So Jacobs.
Back here by the back wall, if you want to have a chair. All right, you bet.
Good evening, Mr. Summerson. Hi. Good, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Mr. Summerson, I'm Nathaniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city of Inglewood. Tonight, we're going to ask you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. At the 9-minute mark, I'll try my best to remind you that you have about a minute left. And then if there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions you have. So,
Sounds good.
are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay, so my first question for you, Mr. Summerson, is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
So I'm new to Englewood. I bought a house right nearby up in Cushing Park last year. And really just want to be an engaged citizen, be involved in my community, and really try to start being invested in the city that's my new home.
Perfect, good reasons. Joe?
Good evening, Mr. Summerson. I'm Joe Anderson, Inglewood Mayor Pro Tem, District 3 City Council Representative. And my question for you is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board or commission that you've applied for? That's the Housing Authority and the Library Board. And in particular, how will you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on one of those boards?
Great question. So I guess a bit of my background, I have a PhD in bioengineering. I work as a medical writer currently for a small rare disease drug company. Before that, I've worked in contract program management for medical device companies. And so I really have an understanding of how to look at interpreting very complex situations, whether those are FDA regulations, whether those are negotiations with clients, whether those are kind of warring priorities between your engineering group and your regulatory quality group. So I really have that kind of complex problem-solving mindset that I'd like to bring to the challenges the city faces. In particular, the Housing Authority. More specifically, I'm a first-time home buyer as of last year. Before that, I spent, I won't talk about how many, but decades as a renter. And so I've been keenly aware of the cost of housing, the difficulty of finding housing, the difficulty of permanent housing. That's something that really motivates me and is a very challenging, complex problem that I want to bring the analytical side of my brain to. The library, I think a lot about. In grad school, I worked with a lot of underrepresented groups. I looked at how people have access to information. I looked at how people have access to sort of the third spaces, right? The places that aren't your home, the places that aren't your work, like all of these places that can be such a strong center for the community. So that's, I'd say, the kind of motivating piece that really focuses me on those boards.
Very good, thank you.
Hi there. Thank you for being here. One quick question. I noticed also that you may be interested in the transportation.
Yes.
Also as your third. So with the 3, is it the Housing Authority, the library, and then transportation in that order that you're interested? Or what's your preference?
I would say housing, transportation, and library.
Okay. Okay, that's what I need. Okay, can you please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Certainly. So most of my work, I'm trying to balance personalities and inputs from everyone from engineers, clinicians, patients, patient advocacy groups, regulatory people, quality people, and really focusing on how we can all find consensus in the story we're all working to tell together to make sure we're telling the true and accurate, complete story of what we're doing in a way that is understandable to the people we're telling that story to. And I've worked in client-facing areas where you also then have to balance that against how much are they willing to pay, what timeline are they willing to work on. And so what I find is really, to bring together these diverse groups is building a shared understanding, so making sure everyone understands the problem in the same way, making sure everyone is kind of brought into the consensus of problem solving. So it's not, I have this great idea, do you agree, yes or no, but let's listen to what everyone's bringing to, generate something that's hopefully more than the sum of each individual thing that we're all bringing.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4, and my question for you is, what do you like the most about Inglewood?
It's a great question. As I said, I'm new to the city, I'm still getting to know the city, but one of the things that really brought me here when I was looking at houses was just the kind of emphasis Inglewood places on public space, usable space, things like this civic center area, things, we would come down before this, we were living in Denver, and we'd come down to Broadway and go to the Grand, go to Gallo, really have this feel of both a bustling city that has everything you need while also still having that neighborhood feel, still having that accommodating vibe, for lack of a better word. So I'm finding new things every day, but what really drew me here was that mix of things that makes it really feel like a human-centered city.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Summerson. My name is Rita Russell. I'm an Inglewood City Council member at large. And my question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions that you apply for?
I'm really coming in largely to learn about my new city, really wanting to see what's happening first and what's working well. Not really coming in with a let's make waves, not really coming in with a here's how we're going to fix everything, surely you've never thought of this before kind of mindset. So I'm really hoping to show up, listen, see what's happening, and bring what I have to offer in the best way I can to the problems that we face.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm a newly elected at-large city council member. So my question is around attendance and engagement. Do you see any barriers to regular attendance or engagement with the groups that you apply to?
No barriers.
Good evening, I'm Chelsea Meedenkamp, City Council Person for District 2. Thanks for being willing to reinvest in your community, even a new community for you. If you were to be appointed to one of these boards, how do you think it might benefit you, personally or professionally?
I'd say sort of on a big picture, this is my home. Everyone kind of has to work constantly to maintain a home. Nothing runs on its own. So I want to live in the best city we can be, and so I want to chip in, put my 2 cents in, and also have a thing outside of work, have a thing outside of something I can put energy into that I care about that can give me that kind of rewarding feel that way, of that kind of job well done satisfaction that's not just showing up to work and staring at Zoom for 8 hours a day.
That's great, thanks so much.
Mr. Kaplan, you still got about 2.5 minutes left, so any questions for us?
I guess what challenges have you found in filling these boards and retaining folks in these boards? Anything?
Anyone want to weigh in? Actually, I think we've had very good participation from the community on many of these boards. I think there are a few boards, we were talking about it earlier tonight, like the pension board. One of the pension boards didn't have any applicants, but for the most part, most of our boards, there's a lot of people that do want to take advantage or do want to serve on those boards, like the Cultural Arts Commission, ETAC, Parks and Rec is always popular. There's always interest in the community. And I can't recall if you said it or if there was someone else prior to you that said it, but the fact that Inglewood, the city's so small that you can still, participate in one of these boards is a big driver for a lot of these people. So I think we've had pretty good success in filling some of these boards, and all we ask is that you participate and bring new ideas and be there. And so, yeah, definitely love this aspect of our role in council is interviewing people that want to make a difference. So, anyone else want to weigh in? Or
Yeah, I'd speak to the housing authority. Over the last 4 years since I've been on council, we've had some trouble. It's not one of the most popular boards that people apply to, so I appreciate that that you put your name in the hat on that one. We have several others as well, but I've seen, I think it sounds the name sounds kind of boring, the housing authority, but it is really an enjoyable board. So I'm always out promoting that one to people. Apply for that board. It's fun to serve on. You get to have real impact on things. So I'm happy to see you apply for that one.
Anyone else or anything else, Mr. Summerson?
But I guess, does anyone have any sort of favorite things that have come out of some of these committees or whatever? I'm sure it has to be fun to see the community engagement, in a way that feels constructive and.
Steve, you got something?
We've gotten 2 of our finest council members from the Budget Advisory Committee.
Present company excluded.
That would be me and Councilwoman Newton Camp, just in case.
Yeah, I would just say, as someone, who used to serve on our commission, I think it's such an opportunity to learn about the city, to see the inner workings, to meet our staff who are excellent and wonderful, and to be, the cities are teams. You're a player now on the team in a different way, in a new role, and that's really exciting. We cannot solve all the problems in the city by ourselves, and so these opportunities are really citizen-led commissions that you get to bring your ideas and give your feedback, so it's great.
Well, Mr. Somerset, it's great to meet you tonight. Thank you very much for making time for us and for your willingness to serve. We're going to deliberate after tomorrow night's discussion, get an idea in terms of placement. Final decision is not until Monday the 5th. So at that point, somebody from the city's clerk office will reach out to you. But thank you again for making time for us, and hope to speak to you again soon.
Sounds good. Good to meet you all. Thank you
Nice
so much
to
for
meet
your
you.
time.
Have a great evening. All right, everyone, we have a break now. I guess we're meeting back up at 7 o'clock, so. So we'll just, ready for Chris? I'm gonna try to pronounce his last name.
I exaggerate about my laziness as a state.
Thank you.
Have my moments.
So is it Mr. Gutschenritter?
Mr. Gutschenritter.
Here we go. I know you pronounced it. I was like, I can't recall if I remember it right.
The funnest name of the night.
Good to hear.
Hey, so thanks for making time for us tonight. I'm Othaniel Sierra. I'm a city council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. We're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. I'll try to remind you at the 9-minute mark that you have 1 minute left. If there's any time remaining, then you can ask any questions of this council. So are you ready to begin?
I'm ready.
Fine, let me keep time here since I said I would. Perfect. All right, so my question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
So 2 reasons. One is really that sense of civic duty, obligation to serve. I'm a big believer in leaving things better than you found them. Just in the time that I've lived in Inglewood, I've benefited greatly, from various services and whatnot. Just I feel that calling to give back and serve and leave Inglewood better than I found it.
Right.
Well, and then actually the second reason is one day I hope to be sitting where you all are sitting, and do have intentions and desires to eventually run for city council.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Gutschenritter. My question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the Parks and Rec Commission or the Budget Advisory Committee? And how in particular would you provide a positive benefit to Inglewood through your service on one of those commissions?
So I think that the skills, the experiences, the traits that I bring that would result in a positive impact to the boards, first off would be in my career, I've been in consulting for the bulk of my career. Have worked in a budget-based environment, so really understand the value of the dollar. I've oftentimes parachuted into companies and had to gather as much information, data points of view to make the best decision I can, to build a business case, to justify or to lay out the return on investment. At the end of the day, you only have so many dollars to spend, and so it's about getting that bang for your buck. So I think that would be very beneficial. And then secondly, I think those that know me best would describe my soft skills as, I'm objective, fair, work well in a team environment. And then in terms for the Parks and Rec experience, silly as it may sound, I grew up right next door to a park in Atlanta. I spent a lot of my childhood years there. And then
As an adult, I would call myself a little bit of a park nerd. Have spent a lot of time at parks, whether that's exercising or just deep thoughts. And spending time in parks, you just kind of start to realize what works, what doesn't. And a big takeaway for me is oftentimes the little things can have some of the biggest impacts at parks. So those are the experiences I think I could bring that positively influence the board and commissions.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. To be clear, is Parks and Rec your first choice and Budget Advisory your second?
I would actually say Budget Advisory Committee is my first and Parks and Rec is my second.
Okay, it's been checking with people. It seems to be turning around on our thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group. This just doesn't make sense. Worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
I would say, what really comes to mind is my sports background. I played collegiate baseball, and we had people on the team from all walks of life, and had conflicting points of view and how to approach the craft or how to manage a game or most efficient use of time at practice. And at the end of the day, we were all working towards one common goal, which was to win. And a big takeaway for me playing was just that, through keeping an open mind, you just might learn something. You don't have to take everything that they say. Sometimes with a grain, sometimes it needs a grain of salt. But you can pick and choose, and there might be things that benefit you by keeping that open mind. So.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4, and my question for you is, what do you like most about Englewood?
This is an easy one. What I love most about Englewood is the size. And the reason I say that is I think that really allows a sense of community to come out. As I've frequented a barber, same grocery store, frequenting a handful of restaurants, I've started to really see familiar faces and struck up conversations with those people. And everybody has just been so welcoming, inclusive, kind. And I mean, that really means the world and has really made me feel welcome and part of the community.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Rita Russell. I'm a council member at large. And thank you for being here this evening. What would you like to see improved in Englewood regarding the boards and commissions that you applied for?
I think for the Budget Advisory Committee, doing some research, some due diligence, what I would like to see is, and I know that there would probably be challenges to this, but I think a little bit more real-time transparency to show how how actuals are tracking to the budget would go a long way. I think that would be beneficial to the board. I think it would be beneficial to the city council. It would allow citizens to have, an opportunity to speak up. And if you had to course correct or make an adjustment, you would have that opportunity. And then as it goes for the Parks and Rec, there are a few things. I think, and I'm sure this is not an original idea, but pickleball courts. I know that there are a few, and it's an exploding sport. And I think not only would the citizens be happy, I think it would be a great way to bring in outsiders and have them experience Englewood firsthand. I also think there are a lot of dogs in Englewood, I've noticed, and another dog park or two might go a long way. I've seen a lot of rule breakers out there with dogs off leash, and if they had more spaces to utilize, that might not happen.
Okay.
Going right into the issues, aren't you?
The heavier ones. Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm newly elected at-large council member. My question is related to attendance and engagement, which is obviously important to boards and commissions. Do you see any barriers or roadblocks to regular attendance and engagement with the groups that you've applied to?
I do not. This will be I know how important it is and what a priority this is, and it will be for me. I don't travel for work anymore. If I do, it's very rare. And besides an annual family trip in the summer, I will be here.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Chelsea Bienkamp, City Councilperson for District 2. Thank you for being willing to reinvest in your community. If you were appointed to one of these boards, how do you think it might benefit you actually, personally or professionally?
I think from a personal standpoint, networking, I'm always looking to meet new people, see new faces. And I realize working on the board, I would be around, influential figures, both citizens and governmental. That excites me, and I would welcome that opportunity. And then, as I mentioned earlier, with aspirations to eventually run for city council, getting to see the inner workings of the Englewood government, that would be a tremendous benefit for me, just in the insight that I would gain from that. And then lastly, it's 100% my intention that my influence and impact on the strategic decisions that are made, the directions that the board goes would influence the vast majority of Englewood citizens, me being one of those citizens I would expect to benefit. You're welcome.
Well, we have about 90 seconds left. Any questions that you happen to have for us?
Well, I guess, is there anything that I could drill into, or are there any follow-up questions that anyone has, or could I elaborate on anything better? And if not, that's
no. I just noticed that you went right into the contentious issues that we had regarding pickleball court, dogs. Yeah, so.
They are in consideration for Bates Logan in the next couple of years, so keep your eyes peeled.
Right.
Will do. I guess the question I do have is what is the frequency of interaction between these boards and commissions and city council?
Well, each of us are liaisons to each of the boards, except for the quasi judicial boards like P&Z and budget, BOA, Board of Adjustment and Appeals, Board of Adjustment. So we sit in on those meetings every month. And we provide feedback, or we give everybody an update on where each of the boards are at. So at least for the boards that I'm a part of, it's once a month.
And how influential are their recommendations in your decision making?
Some more than others, I guess. I guess from personal experience, I was part of the Transportation Advisory Committee when they passed, within Englewood, they did the safety stop. So that was 2021, and then a year later, the state passes it as well. So there are things that make it to us and make an impact to the city, obviously. So.
And the Budget Advisory Committee presents a report on the budget every year to City Council as part of our budget process that we consider as we make decisions. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Well, Mr. Guttenritter, thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. We're going to be deliberating tomorrow night. Final placement will happen on the 5th of February. And then from there, you'll hear from somebody from the city clerk's office. So, yeah, man, it's great to meet you, and thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, man.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
See if Adam Cox is here. Now we might have another break.
Got a little gap. Adam's not here yet.
Okay.
And get up, run for something. 4 laps is 1,000 steps, so if you need to get your steps in.
Oh, really?
Is that how, you already know that?
How many steps make a mile?
I don't know.
Depends on how.
It depends on
How long would you
place.
say, sir?
Yeah, I'm sure I would need maybe twice as many steps as you.
When my legs were good, my mom, who was almost as tall as me, she slowed down. Now it's like, yeah.
Still got long legs.
Adam's here if you'd like,
Short break?
or do you need?
Yeah, I think we're ready now. We didn't feel like walking, so. We're ready for Adam.
Adam, ready for us.
Right. Adam Cox.
Come on in, Adam, and then just go ahead and take a seat back there. You bet.
Good evening, Mr. Cox.
How's it going?
Good. Are you ready for us?
Well,
I know
I'll
you're
do my
early,
best.
but.
No other way than to rip it off like a Band-Aid and jump in feet first, huh?
There you go. Well, Mr. Cox, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. I'm Othaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1, as well as mayor for the city. Mr. Cox will be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. At the 9-minute mark, I'll remind you that there's about a minute left, and then if there's any time remaining, you can ask any questions of this council. So, are you ready to begin?
Sure thing.
Mr. Cox, look at this. What motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Well, my wife and I, we moved to Inglewood about 1.5 years ago, and just love the feeling of it being a smaller city and small community. And, you know, looking at the city website, it seems like the community is really involved with things. And when I looked on and saw that there was an opportunity to be an alternate on the housing authority, and my background is in real estate, I thought it'd maybe be a good fit to come down and see if I might be a fit.
Sounds great. Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Cox, Joe Anderson, District 3 representative, and Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Inglewood here as well. My question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the Inglewood Housing Authority, and how would the city benefit by your service on that board?
Okay, well, I've got over 20 years experience in the real estate business in the Denver metro area. Currently, I'm the employee broker for HomeSmart Realty, which is the largest brokerage in the state when it comes to headcount. You know, as an employee broker, I do a lot of counseling, do a lot of coaching and mentoring, do a lot of analyzing of markets, helping agents look at properties, you know, identify what's going to be a fit for their client, et cetera. I also know that housing is a crisis in our city right now, and affordable housing is imperative to help people get ahead. And so I thought that maybe with my experience and my background and coaching abilities, et cetera, being able to look at markets and help analyze them, that might be a fit.
Very good, thank you.
Hi there, Kim Wright, one of the at-large council members. Please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
All right, well, that's actually, you know, jumping into diversity is something I really like. And one of the things about HomeSmart being the largest brokerage in the state when it comes to headcount, you know, it's a very affordable brokerage. So we get every type of walk of life in there, which I really enjoy. I like the diversity. Been in Colorado for 30 years. It'll be 30 years this summer, but I did grow up in the DC metropolitan area where there was a lot of diversity. And so I really, you know, enjoy that. I think that everybody is the same, you know, at the end of the day. I like to keep everybody on even playing field and treat everybody with that same individual respect. When it comes to my most recent experience, just last week we had our 4-hour mandatory annual commission update class. It's about as boring as the day is long, but we've got to take it every single year as real estate agents, and it was, every seat was taken. Everybody's trying to get up on their education, and sure enough, they stuck me up there in front of everybody to do the announcement. And so, you know, at first I might be a little bit nervous in front of a large group of people, but once I get to talking and being myself, at the end of the day, I think I do pretty well.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, which is Southwest Inglewood. And my question for you is, what do you like most about Inglewood?
What do I like most about Inglewood? That's a really good question. I do love the parks. You know, I'm an avid dog walker, so I'm constantly on the Southwest Greenbelt. I'm in District 3, and I walk from Delaware Street all the way down to Rotolo Park and back. Like that it's quiet, you know, at least over in District 3 where I am, and plus you're 5 minutes away from everything. And you've got the hustle and bustle of the South Broadway out here. You know, you get up in here to the restaurants just north of the Army Surplus store. I mean, it's, but again, you're sort of 10 minutes away from everything, but also you get that quiet feel. And, you know, also, it also has a little bit of an urban edge. You know, for the past 20 years, my wife and I, we've been living in Morrison. And I mean, hey, it was great being up there near the foothills, but prior to Morrison, we lived over on Capitol Hill. You know, we were in our 20s. And it's funny, we moved up to Morrison because we thought it was going to be quiet. Yeah, until the very first weekend we were there, and they had the Mile High Nationals. The concert at Red Rocks, and every Harley in town was ripping up that TV. Well, all right, I guess it's going to be louder than Capitol Hill. But anyhow, I'll backtrack a little bit. But it has a little bit of that urban edge too, which sort of brings us back to, you know, Capitol Hill. Gives it a little bit goodness.
My dog loves the Southwest Greenbelt as well, so.
I usually see me out there between 8:10 and 8:30, and my dog's the one with the big spotlight on his chest.
Awesome.
Good evening, Mr. Cox. My name is Rita Russell. I'm a council member at large. My question for you tonight is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions you've applied for?
Okay, just, I guess, an expansion when it does come to affordable housing. I mean, I've watched the market and I see the prices going up every single day in our neighborhood. I mean, some of the homes are coming down in price, but those are the ones that were inflated, trying to catch, you know, the end of the roller coaster of spikes in appreciation that we had been seeing. So seeing a little bit more affordable housing for folks that, you know, number one, could realize that dream of home ownership, I think would be ideal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Pring, newly elected council member at large.
All right.
And my question is relating to attendance and engagement. So do you see any barriers or roadblocks to you having regular attendance or engagement in the board or commission that you've applied for?
That I don't. You know, one of the bennies of being the employing broker at HomeSmart Realty is if I need to, you know, leave to go to a housing authority meeting with the city, I've got the green light to do so. So I can do that.
Great, thank you.
Chelsea.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Hi, I'm Chelsea Gam, City Council Member for District 2. Welcome to Inglewood, and thank you for being willing to reinvest back into this community. If you were to be appointed to this board, how do you think it might benefit you personally or professionally?
You know, just really helping me keep my finger on the pulse of the real estate market and the entire community. You know, again, analyzing properties and neighborhoods and things like that is sort of my forte. And if I can bring my experience to the table to help the housing authority, I think it would help myself professionally when I look at my peers and my bosses in Phoenix, Arizona, where our corporate headquarters is. The Adams working over at the housing authority in Inglewood now. And then, you know, I think that would help me professionally and personally. You know, just help me grow and expand and be a little bit better than I am today.
Thanks.
Well, Mr. Cox, you got about 3 minutes left. Any questions for us?
Okay, so I do notice that, let's see, I guess it's the second Monday of each month is the housing authority meetings at 4 o'clock, and then they have the planning and zoning after that.
First month, or first Monday,
Is it Monday or is it Wednesday?
sorry, Wednesday, first Wednesday of every month.
Okay, first Wednesday of every month.
Yeah.
Very good. And being on the authority as an alternate, I mean, I would definitely be attending each meeting, but what exactly does it entail, excuse me, entail being an alternate? If somebody was not there, would I sort of sit in for them or?
Well, you would be at each meeting and you could contribute to each meeting, but you wouldn't vote unless they needed you to reach quorum.
Gotcha.
And so you would be a full participating member of the committee, but then you'd only vote if there was a need for one additional vote to get to quorum. And then obviously, you know, if you serve well, you're next in line to get moved up. So that's often what happens is we have the alternate move up into a regular member the next time around.
All right. And I just reached out, forgive me, her name's on my iPhone right now, but she was the most recent alternate that moved into a permanent seat. And I should get excuse me. I don't know.
Blonde hair.
But she was really excited to be in her permanent seat, I should say.
Madison,
Madison Andrews, or
Yeah.
was it woman on the housing authority or the housing task force? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And I was just.
We're gonna talk about it in 3 minutes.
I'd be like, just, you know, sitting in the corner, okay, taking some notes here, but it would actually be a little bit more interactive where I could share.
Yeah, you get interact and ask questions and all that for each. We did that.
Okay, very cool.
Any other questions, Mr. Cox?
Can you tell me how long you've lived in Inglewood?
Inglewood, a year and a half. We moved in September 15th.
Okay,
Not this past year, but the year prior.
okay. Great, thank you.
Perfect. Anything else?
You know, I think
Well,
I'm good. If anybody else has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I think we're good. Mr. Cox, thank you very much for your time tonight. We'll deliberate tomorrow night the placement for after all these interviews. We'll make a final decision on Monday, February 5th. And at that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placement. But it was great to meet you. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. And yeah, your wealth of knowledge, I'm very impressed. So looking forward to picking your brain at some point. So
I look forward to it.
Mr. Cox, yeah, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very evening.
And where,
I think we have Sherry Stinson, Joe. Joe,
Was it?
we have Sherry Stinson.
Oh, yeah, she maybe was the
She's
most.
more recent, yeah.
Hard to keep track of when people come on.
It would be really fun with that.
Laura, just go ahead and grab one of those chairs back there.
good evening.
Hello.
How you doing, Ms. Herrera?
How are you all?
We're doing well. Thanks for making time for us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool. So, Ms. Herrera, my name's Othaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city of Inglewood. We're going to be asking you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes. At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know that you have about a minute remaining.
Okay.
And then if there's any question or if there's any time left at that point, then you can ask any questions of us. So, any questions before we get started?
I'm ready.
Cool. Let me just get the timer here. So, Ms. Herrera, my first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, just personally, I have experience in service. I was in AmeriCorps many, many years ago. Being part of my community has always been important to me. I did move around quite a bit. And in the last couple of years, I've actually been more stable in terms of where I've lived. So the home that I have in Inglewood, I've been there for 2 years now. So I love the community and I want to get involved.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Ms. Herrera. I'm Joe
Hi.
Anderson, District 3 Representative and also Mayor Pro Tem. My question for you tonight is what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to your service on the Cultural Arts Commission, and how would Inglewood benefit by your service on that board?
Yeah, for the last 15-ish years, I've been in program management, which has also include project management for large tech companies primarily. Right now I work at a healthcare startup. So, just basics of organization, strategic thought, planning, et cetera. Like those are things that I enjoy doing and I also have been doing for quite some time. And in terms of, from the Cultural Arts Committee perspective, I also just love the arts and, I'd love to just support in any way I can, whether contributing just my own thoughts and opinions, but also like from a skills perspective to help drive initiatives and whatnot.
Very good, thank you.
I'm Kim Wright, I'm one of the at-large council members. Can you please describe an experience in the past where you worked with a group of people that were diverse and sometimes had opposing views and perspectives?
Yeah, I could say I feel like that's an everyday sort of thing. Where, there's, and it's actually in one of my roles that I'm thinking about just now, the primary objective of my position at the time was receiving feedback. And also the culture of that organization was you're getting feedback all the time, whether someone's telling you or not. So it was really important to be really mindful as to what people are telling you, how they're acting, behaving, and taking the initiative too to ask questions and understand. So like a specific example, I would say, this probably isn't the best, but we were recently staffing on my team and we've got a hiring panel or interview panel, maybe similar to this. And everybody's got their own opinion about, what are they looking for in that role and what skills, qualities, and individuals were they speaking to those candidates about. So it was really, hearing everybody out, making sure that we're being mindful as to ultimately the objectives of what the scope of the role is and what was most important and ultimately what they'd be doing. Someone can be really pleasant, but ultimately are they going to be successful? So, having open dialogue, but then really drilling into what were some people's concerns and what were like if there was more to maybe some of the things that people really liked about like certain candidates. So,
Great answer. Thank you.
yeah, definitely thinking.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4, and my question for you tonight is, what do you like the most about Inglewood?
I like Inglewood. I had been living up in Denver I've been in Colorado for about 3 years now. And so I was in Denver for the first year. And when I moved to Inglewood, I felt like I was actually in like a neighborhood setting. Like I got to know my neighbors. It felt almost like where I grew up, where, you know, I knew people by name, you would wave to folks. There just was a real sense of community. Regardless, even if, you know, it was somebody on the other side of the street, like I had a neighbor, she would walk her dogs and she was 4 blocks down and 2 blocks over, and yet somehow we got to know each other even through like our grid. But it was just, she was really friendly and chatty, and it's a place where you can sit on your porch and wave at people, and it's really nice. So, yeah, I really appreciated that a lot.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Rita Russell, I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the Cultural Arts Commission?
I'll be honest, I don't, this is something that I do want to learn more about in terms of the scope of the commission. But the one thing that in terms of my perspective that I would be coming in on is, or maybe where I would bring in my own thoughts, opinions, and weigh in as I'm getting to know, you know, the commission itself and what we're able to do is, you know, do we have representation for our whole population? Like, is there diverse voices that are being highlighted and shared, and how are we doing that, enabling people? I think like even from a basic like engagement standpoint too, like I think people want to be involved, so how can we also create opportunities that make the arts accessible to everybody across like Inglewood itself.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. I have the most glamorous question of the evening, which is, do you see any barriers or roadblocks to regular attendance and engagement with the committee?
No, I don't.
He was just mad because I took the question.
Yeah, I am, kind of. I really liked your answers to that.
Everyone wants Steve. Hi, I'm Chelsea Newton-Camp, Inglewood, Councilmember for District 2. Thank you for being willing to reinvest back into the community. If you were to be appointed to one of these commissions, how do you think it would benefit you personally and professionally?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely look at it as a learning opportunity. One, just like getting to know Inglewood, understanding, I think, just city, I don't know, you know, just how the city operates and commissions and boards and whatnot. I think that's really interesting, and I think can be really valuable just being a community member. And then getting to know other like community members too. So not only how things work, but also just people and making connections and broadening that. And then maybe professionally, I don't know, I guess I throw something on my LinkedIn, like, or learn something new, I think, depending on what initiatives or whatnot come my way.
Great.
Perfect. Ms. Herrera, you have about 2 minutes left. Any questions for us?
Yeah, I'm curious, like, in terms of folks that have been on commissions in the past, like, what have you seen that makes someone successful in terms of their support, being an active member and so forth? Like, is there any like trait or quality, or do you usually look for, I don't know, even diversity and skill set and whatnot?
Everybody want to chime in?
I can say when I started serving on my first board in this city, it was just a year after I moved to Inglewood, and I didn't know anything related to the board's business at all. But being able to work with other people and understand where they're coming from, and having enough assertiveness to kind of challenge the status quo on the board, I think are all traits that I admire in board members.
I think a lot of what you spoke to in your answers, just having that sense of curiosity about your community, being willing to show up to serve. But also, I really liked what you had to say about the diversity of opinions and making sure that that's honored in a meeting. And I think that gets us the best result, obviously, when we honor all of those voices that are out there.
The only thing I would add is, I mean, obviously reading on materials, those kinds of things, coming prepared, which might sound like a no-brainer, but that doesn't always happen, and so that's really helpful. But also, these are really citizen-led boards and commissions, and so being willing to come with a proactive approach and to come with ideas, and what if we did this, and be willing to meet in subcommittees and really bring something together is really exciting, because we defer to really the citizens leading those on their own.
Cool. Thank you.
Can I ask you, you applied for one board.
I was gonna ask that. Go ahead.
Do you have interest in serving on any of the other boards?
I mean, yes, I guess I didn't, I was drawn to the arts because I used to dance, and in general, I really enjoy like music and performing arts and other things. And I was like, oh, this is where I feel like personally I understand it to some degree, not, again, entirely from like an operational standpoint. But I'd be open to like exploring it. I guess I think I was hesitant because I'm like, I know nothing about firefighter pensions, and I would be like, it feels like even just the title feels like a big responsibility. And I was like, I don't want to screw that up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So you would be open to other boards?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And normally in that situation, the city clerk will reach out to you and just say, they're
Okay.
considering you for this board, would you be interested, kind of
Okay.
thing. So we wouldn't just place you on that board.
Okay.
But Ms. Herrera, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're gonna be deliberating tomorrow night. We'll make final decisions on Monday the 5th. And then at that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will let you know about placement. So,
Okay, perfect.
but yeah, thank you very much for your willingness to serve, and thanks for making time for us tonight.
Yeah.
And
Good
can
to
I
meet you.
ask you one quick question? It's not on the form, it doesn't mean anything, just for reference. Do you rent or own your place?
I rent. I lived there for 1 year, and I've been renting.
Right, it's just, I feel,
Okay.
I rent also, I
Okay.
just want representation, and it's just important to me. So,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ms. Herrera.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
A lot of new people.
Yeah.
2 years, she said?
Yes,
2 years, right?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, she's been in Colorado for 3, what, for 2? Yeah.
It's always amazing to me. I feel like our applications are always mostly new people who are looking to get involved.
Yeah.
And people who are so
Elizabeth's not here yet, but Gary's here. Do you want to wait? Because Elizabeth's supposed to be 6 or 7:40.
Who's here?
Gary, he's early.
Let's start.
We'll just.
I'm fine starting with Gary. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right, Gary, go ahead, come on back. I'll be here. Yeah. Great.
Hi there, Mr. Kozak.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Do introductions? Do we need to do introductions, Mr. Kozak?
We could.
Mr. Kozak, it's good to see you. Mr. Kozak, we'll be asking you 7 questions over the course of 10 minutes. At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know there's 1 minute remaining. If there's any time remaining, then you can ask any questions of us. So are you ready to begin, Mr. Kozak?
The only thing I would like to announce is I just understood today that there is an opening on the water and sewer. And I didn't apply for it. Do I need to apply for that?
No, actually, so that's a good point. So we probably would have asked that question at some point today. So you're interested in water and sewer as well. Okay. So Mr. Kozak, my first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Well, I guess because I've served on city council before and served on several boards and shown more interest, and I've got more time to actually be a greater part in serving the city.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Kozak. What knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to your service on one of these boards? And how would Inglewood have a positive benefit through your service?
Well, I guess because I've been here before, been on city council before, served on several boards and commissions. I don't think I put DRCOG on my initial application, but I did serve on DRCOG as well. Being into mineral rights and stuff now, Water and Sewer Board is a good concern of mine because I've been around that, but planning and zoning, because I'm in the development and property development and all that as well. As you can see, I've presented myself to city council a few times on that issue. So a lot of knowledge there, and willing to be open and research it and then bring back the information back to the city council because I know you're the deciding body ultimately.
Very good, thank you.
Hi there.
Hello.
Can you describe a past experience in which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Yeah, I'm a coach. Let me tell you, I came out of retirement and went back to the high school level coaching, and the world's entirely different. And dealing with the families and the parents, and you can see where things really changed in COVID, that you have to approach everything entirely different. And having the adults versus the kids, it's a whole new world. And other than that, you know, I was a crisis counselor with Columbine. So I've dealt with a lot of crisis situations, and when I was on city council, I also was the first member in Victims Assistance Program to bring the males aboard to help rape victims and stuff. And that turned out to be a nationwide success because other cities and stuff adopted our procedures, and that went nationwide. So I think I got a little bit of experience there.
And what was that called?
Victims Assistance. Back in the day, there was only women only on it. And, when we came on and presented how men can actually communicate with a woman, we found that a woman that had been raped and stuff is more likely to talk to another man about their experience because most of their mates and stuff would be very opposed to situations and talk to them, and they want to blame and all this other stuff. And we just found it to be very successful. And I did do suicide prevention and stuff, crisis counseling when I was at Littleton High School and stuff. So I've got a lot of different dealings with different personalities.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Welcome aboard, by the way.
Tell us what you like the most about Englewood.
I've lived here all my life. It was a great little small town, was a small town. Obviously, everybody's got to grow with it. We are losing touch with the small town atmosphere as far as having a smaller area to shop in and stuff. We do neglect here not having top name restaurants, the South restaurants, the one that's been here for a long time. When I was on city council, we tried to bring in more restaurants, but when Littleton or Sheridan took over the waste management over there and built that over there, they got more restaurants over there that people go to, even from Englewood. And trying to build up, you need something to draw people. And when I drove over our mountain climbing facility, the streets are all packed, the huge parking lot's packed, and the entire street is packed to where somebody's going to get out of the car and stuff. It's rather dangerous because it's too dark over there and you can't see them opening the car door and stuff once they've already turned their lights off. So we need to draw like that draws people to it, but give them encouragement to buy and purchase things here. And I deal with Marigold Dairy, so I do all their snow removal and a lot of other stuff over there. One of the bigger employer base. So I just got a lot of knowledge to the area, and having lived here my entire life, I want to see it continue that way.
Good evening, Mr. Kozak. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Englewood regarding the boards and commissions you apply to? And I have one other question that I'd like to ask you too about, because you said you were involved in development and stuff. Would there be any conflict of interest? Would it create a conflict of interest for you to serve on, say, P&Z or any of that?
No, because my development is not here in
Okay.
Englewood. It's Colorado, yes, we've got over 350 acres of mineral rights and a parking lot that we picked up in Greenwood Village. And we're developing that property as we speak. Where I figure I could bring it to the board and stuff, now that I found out the water and sewer had an opening. We've been involved for years in mineral rights and stuff. And when the city of Denver came in and claimed you either use it or lose it, and we lost several millions of gallons of water to the city of Denver, there's a way of actually taking a closer look and going in and seeing if we don't have federal rights to our water rights that are on the western slope, to where we could go back to the 1890s and use the water rights laws and mineral rights laws there to better secure that water right. Because we've done that in our own situation here with some water rights and mineral rights that we've purchased here. And we actually have a land patent on the mineral rights, which gives you 100 more legal ends that's favorable, and this would be a way to help protect our water that we've got on the western slope. I know we rented out for, back when all that went through in Denver, I found out that we have a person up there that's paying like 50 cents for the water rights up there, and as long as he uses it, then nobody else can come in and take it. Well, that law now has been overturned to where it's not a use it or lose it law. They found out that that's unconstitutional. But if we could protect it, if there is rights to that water rights that go back to the early days, then we should try to nail that down and help protect our water rights so somebody else can't come in and upscale it. It gives you a whole lot more muscle power to protect it. Now, did I answer all your questions?
Yes, thank you very much.
I kind of got carried away with it.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Good,
to see
welcome
you.
aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My question is around attendance and engagement with boards and commissions. Obviously, it's very important for you to have regular attendance and engage whatever board or commission you choose to sit on or get appointed to, if you do. So do you have any barriers or roadblocks to regular attendance or being able to fully
Other than
engage?
health is the only one. I've had COVID 3 different times.
Okay.
And even when I'm coaching, you have a better chance of that. But I monitor it rather closely because I am working around young kids and stuff, and if there's any sign of it, then I seclude myself from that. But as far as attendance, we have mandated attendance for our coaches and players and stuff, so I've always been that way. And as you notice, I'm here early. You know, I'm from the old school. You don't wait for the last minute and knock on the door where you're supposed to be. I get there early.
I tend to agree with that.
And I do my homework ahead of time to try to be as much up on what's on the agenda and stuff. And I'm very open book that, knowing that I would be representing this board, then whatever I'd hear, if there was any real questions as far as something going on, then I would present it back to this board, which I will give you a heads up next meeting. I will be bringing a couple things to the board as things that have gone on with a couple of the boards. I've been looking into them, so sorry, but that's just me. I want to know. If I'm going to get involved, I want to know more what's going on.
Got about 35 seconds left.
Mr. Kozak, if you were to be appointed to one of these boards, how do you think as an Englewood citizen it would benefit you personally or professionally?
Because I'm helping the city of Englewood professionally. You know, on the water stuff, I'm way above that now. And I served on, Denver water and sewer, on water and sewer with Dr. Cog and all that. So my benefit is just being a part of Englewood. I've been here all my life. In fact, I live in the same house.
Thank you.
Mr. Kozak, I'm just going to ask a quick question. Water and sewer, we're right at time now, so. Do you have a difference in order in terms of where you place water and sewer, or do you want to just place that third? Because right now you have.
No, I really don't care. It's really, I know you have a lot of openings, but water and sewer is a good position because I've got a lot more experience in that as well.
Perfect.
But if you needed more time, I'm the next meeting. I'm the meeting supposed to be here at 7:50. So I don't.
Mr. Kozak, thank you very much for your time tonight. We're going to be deliberating After tomorrow's interviews, we'll make a final decision on Monday, February 5th. And then at some point during that week, the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placement. But thank you very much for your time tonight and your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kozak.
Y'all have a good one and stay warm, even though it's not too cold out.
Yeah, I know, it's finally warmed up. It's
Yeah.
finally warmed up.
Yeah.
Have a good evening, Mr. Kozak.
Thank you.
Thank you, good to see you.
Y'all have a good evening.
You too.
Good night.
Sorry you got cut short on it.
Elizabeth Shaw, why does that name sound?
Because there is.
We already were
two
talking about
We
Inglewood
talked
Borough
about it.
reporters, Elizabeth Slay and Taylor Shaw. She got one of those names.
Elizabeth, and go ahead and pick a seat back there. Thanks.
She's neither one of them.
Yes, I miss.
Hi there, Ms. Shaw.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I love group interviews.
Do you?
No, I've
Actually, I was
wanted
just-
quite some time.
I was kind of curious about how this format feels for people, but anyway, Ms. Shaw, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. I'm Nathaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Tonight, we're going to ask you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those 7 questions. At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know there's a minute remaining, and if there's any time still left to go, then you could ask any questions of us. So,
Okay.
are you ready to begin?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, Ms. Shaw, my question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Well, I have, so I've lived in Inglewood since, oh my gosh, I'm really gonna date myself here. I think I bought my first house in Inglewood in 2006, and I'd had apartments around the area. I originally actually took part in some of the Keep Inglewood Beautiful boards, the meetings, not knowing that I had to officially join. So it was more of a volunteer, show up and eavesdrop kind of a basis, and then did some volunteer work. That actually got me interested in being a part of the boards. But since then, I very quickly had 2 kids that are about 14 months apart that have kept me busy for some time. And now finally, I feel like I'm finding my rhythm. And then recently I did applied for a grant for it was for like in the lines of sustainability.
Right.
And then, yeah, and I got very interested in it and thought that maybe it's a better approach to be part of that board and really have an impact on how things, can operate.
Yeah. It was in your application, right? The Get to Know Your Neighbor grant?
I've done a couple of those, yeah. Actually, I talk all my neighbors into a Halloween thing, which is wonderful. I did another one too. It was, the larger grant. Get to know you. Why I'm drawing a blank right just from the pressure, I think. The neighborhood one.
Neighborhood sign.
What?
The neighborhood sign, neighborhood gateway sign.
Yeah, no, this is the one that's like for $5,000.
Okay.
Not so the get to know your neighbor grant was are the smaller ones. and-
Beautification?
What?
Beautification?
Yeah, along those lines. And this one was, the idea was like a company called Ridwell that does responsible recycling, so clothing, electronics, and printers, and styrofoam, and all of those things that, end up in landfills. And so it was trying to get access to residents. Or Ridwell. And I'm a big proponent of Ridwell.
There we go.
I do not work for them.
Thank you,
I
Ms.
just
Shaw.
love them.
Go ahead,
Good
Joe.
evening, Ms. Shaw. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 council member and also Mayor Pro Tem. My question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the board or commissions that you've applied for, the Sustainability Commission, the Parks and Rec Commission, and how would the city of Inglewood benefit by your service on one of those commissions?
Sure. So I think that from taking my professional skills, I think a lot of it could probably easily be transferred. So probably the very basic of it is I have a certification in project management, which comes with being able to look through budgets and step by step, and are we doing this correctly, and how do we organize this, and where are these details? I'm also currently, my position is to build proof of concept apps for large scale enterprises. But with that comes to gather a lot of requirements. Why do we want to do this? When do we want to do this? How do we want to do this? Who's going to use this? How should it work? So I think just being able to take part, to be able to ask those questions and identify, we want to create the yearly volunteer for hazardous waste collection, right? And I'm sure that this is all dialed in, so I'm just giving you an example, but being able to have the conversation that says, how do we want to do this? When do we want to do this? How are we going to get people interested? You know, what's our mode? What's our method there? So I think that I can bring a lot from, you know, those professional experiences and how I've used them, but also to the board, organizing those. And actually, I'm not gonna lie, I was once voted the most fun coworker. It was quite some time ago, but I mean, it's still like feather in my cap.
We're tripping ahead to the next question.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Can you please describe an experience in the past in which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I have two. My husband.
Irish twins on top of it.
Okay, you know what, I'm actually gonna, I mean that very sincerely because I do tend to be a peacekeeper and we're gonna make everybody happy. Okay, you want this, I want this, let's massage this a little bit. Okay, you do that, how about you do this and then you get this and we'll do this. I think there is that, but I think also, and again, going back to like my technical background, there's a lot of times that I walk into a room and somebody says, well, I want it to work like this. And then somebody says, we don't need it to work like that. We want it to do this other way. And so you've got to figure out how to navigate those really, you know, difficult situations. And how am I going to find a path that's going to make people happy? And honestly, sometimes you just have to say no. Like, we've got to do what's best. What I tell my 6-year-old, it's the group plan, man. You've got to go with the group plan. And then we'll do your group plan.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4, and my question for you is, what do you like the most about Inglewood?
So I think for me, there's a lot of personal history here. And I want to say, let me start with, there is a community to it. You are so close to Denver, but you still have this vibe that we are small, right? So you've got this feeling that every neighbor's got your back. I have a lot, I think, of, you know, history invested here. So I had mentioned I had an apartment here in 2005, and I moved here because my now husband was living here. However, I think a little bit more interesting, my grandparents had a house on Lafayette that my now mother-in-law lives as the crow flies, straight across. So across Charles A, which is like, I like that part. My grandparents also, so that was my grandparents. My mother lived there with them. And then my great-grandparents had houses here. And my great-uncle, he was a clown by profession. Kickapoo and Snickle friends. So I think there's a lot of heritage here, is what I'm getting at, is that we've got, you know, I've got, my mother now lives in Littleton, which is where I grew up. But I've spent a lot of, you know, I've got a lot of history here. And I also I like it. I like that it's urban, so you can get down to, you know, the Breakfast Queen and all of that strip right there, really easy. I love riding my bike, so it's very rideable. I like that a lot. I feel good about my kids in this community. I feel like going to school at Charles Hay, I feel like they're getting a good education. And I feel really, really strongly that those teachers are incredible advocates for them. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members, and I've lived here a long time myself, and so I like the history here too. What would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions that you apply for?
Well, I think so for sustainability, obviously, I'd like to see Inglewood really lead more of a charge, especially on responsible recycling. We have a community that we need to hand off to another generation. And we need to give them a community that they can keep and continue to grow. So I think that in and of itself to me is really important. And there's just so much to it. I think for the parks and recs though, I really have seen a lot of changes come through. And I don't know necessarily that I would say that, oh, we've got to modify this, we've got to change this. There's so much improvement that gets done constantly I think more than anything, I would like to be a resource that could be used to help aid in that improvement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member, recently elected. You get bonus points if you make this question fun.
Uh-oh. Oh, gosh, now I'm nervous.
Regular attendance and engagement is important in our boards and committees. Do you have any barriers or roadblocks to regular attendance and engagement?
Regular attendance and engagement. I don't know how to make that fun, no.
Yes.
No.
You're losing points.
You're losing.
Not
really.
Don't lose it. Here's the end of the night.
We got 45 seconds. So.
I'll just close by saying I'm Chelsea Camp from District 2. Thank you for being willing to reinvest in the community. If you were to be appointed, how would serving on this board serve you, either personally or professionally?
It would serve me because I think it is very important for my kids to see an example of giving back to the community that brings you up. And I want to be that example for them. So that's my probably personal, that's what I get out of it. And we can bring them to the meeting. We wouldn't. What's the Wi-Fi password?
You're in a park.
Doesn't work like that. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
I think we're just about time. Yeah, we are. Ms. Shaw, thank you very much for your time tonight. I'll just ask, do you have any quick questions for us or no?
I actually don't have a ton of quick questions. Or no, I don't have any quick questions. I have had I've had and I'm sorry, I actually do not hear in my left ear. I feel like I talk over people a little bit about that, but I only remember to wear my hearing aids when I'm going to like an auditorium. So maybe that's why. Oh, sorry, I forgot the hearing aid one. I'm not gonna swing it this time, but that's it, so.
No, Ms. Shaw, thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're gonna deliberate tomorrow night after all the interviews about placement for the positions. We'll make the ultimate decision on Monday the 5th.
Okay.
And then at that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you about placement. But it was great to meet you.
It's
And
great to meet you.
Thank you very much for your willingness to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful night and everybody gets home safe.
Yeah.
Thank
Have a great
you.
night.
Appreciate the sense of humor you brought this evening.
Yes.
Great at this time.
Wonderful,
Nice.
thank you.
Great energy.
And I think we're down just to Chris Lambert, right? Chris Lambert.
I love these early people.
You'll grab one of the chairs at the back there.
Mr. Lambert, good evening.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, how are you guys?
Doing well, how you doing? Well, Mr. Lambert, thanks for making time for us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Lambert, my name's Othaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1, also the mayor for the city. Mr. Lambert, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer. At the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know you have a minute remaining.
Okay.
If there's any time left over, you can ask any questions of us. So,
Okay.
Are you ready to begin? I should probably start.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Mr. Lambert, my question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
That was pretty simple. I like to be more involved in our community. My wife and I are planning on being here for a little while. This would probably be my first actual community involvement, knowing that I'm committed to the area.
Good reasons. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Lambert. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 City Council Member, Mayor Pro Tem. My question for you tonight is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you bring to the Parks and Rec Commission, and how would Inglewood benefit from your service on that board?
Well, I can definitely help with the health and fitness programs. I've worked in the health club industry for 18 of the last 30 years, mainly helping new people get started on health and wellness programs, mainly when it comes to gym and fitness.
Great. Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
Can you please describe an experience in the past during which you worked with a group of people that were diverse and sometimes opposing in views and perspectives?
You know, I mean, I do on a daily basis as somebody that works in a gym currently. I obviously have to juggle many political opinions that come inside of my gym. And I hear both sides of all stories and deal with it on a pretty consistent basis. So I just try to maintain the best diplomacy that I can, usually trying to keep my personal opinions to myself. Agreeing where I can agree, and when I don't agree, just let them have their opinion.
Sometimes somebody will have to explain to me what it is about the gym that makes people want to spout off about politics.
It is amazing. It is amazing.
I think it's that
testosterone. It's never instigated by me, I assure you. I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4. My question for you is, what do you like the most about Inglewood?
Oh, I think it's an amazing community. I've been on and off here for a while. I love the downtown look of the area. It's a very walkable place. It's a diverse community when it comes to a little bit of politics. My wife works for Innovative Housing Concepts, helped Joe campaign here recently. I opened the Valley Total Fitness next to the Civic Center when it very first opened up, moved back to Springs, came back up here. When I worked for U-Haul, I opened this U-Haul Center over here as the area director for that. So for some reason, Inglewood has just kind of called me to settle here. That kind of makes sense. So, don't know if that's a great answer, Steve.
It's as good as any I've got tonight.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Member. My name is Rita Russell, and I'm one of the at-large council members. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the boards and commissions you applied for?
Well, Rita, I don't know that I actually want to improve anything. I think if you guys were to go forward with me, I would take the time to learn a little bit more about what the Parks and Rec department needs, and see what skill set I have that I could incorporate in that, if I'm answering that question pretty well. So right now, from what I understand about the Mallory Center and our Inglewood Rec Center, they seem to be well-run facilities. Look like they service the community pretty well. With the Choose Fitness that I go to on occasion and the Anytime Fitness over here, I know that there's a lot of options for good health and wellness and fitness in the community. So let's see what I can do to help you guys.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. And my question is around attendance and engagement. So obviously, if you were appointed, attending regularly meetings and engaging the group with your thoughts and opinions is important. Would you see any barriers or roadblocks to being able to do so?
No, not in general. I've had where I work, it's me and another guy, and he just recently had a heart attack. So I've had some challenges there, but we really work pretty well together. And I know he knows that I have been interested in this for the last few weeks. So we would work it out to where I could be where I needed to be when I needed to be there.
Okay. And I do have a follow-up question based on answer that you gave, Ms. Wright. So you said, working with diverse thoughts and opinions, oftentimes you keep your personal opinions to yourself. How willing are you to engage in conversation where perhaps your difference of opinion may add to the conversation, get us to a better result?
If I have to if I feel like my opinion is not going to upset an individual, I would tend to ask questions to make sure that I understand the other person's opinion before I state how I feel about a certain topic. So typically when I engage, I'm going to ask for more clarification first and try to find the best way to engage. That's part of my sales skills, I would think, too. So I feel it's always best to ask the most amount of questions before I state a lot of opinions. Did I answer your question?
You did, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Good evening, my name is Chelsea Camp. I'm the council member for District 2. If you were to be appointed to one of these boards, how do you think it would serve you, either personally or professionally?
To start back to, I feel like I'm obligated to serve my community a little bit. It's not something I've been particularly great at in the past. I believe there's a lot that I could learn from being a little bit more involved in city government. I know this isn't a government sort of position, but to be a little bit more involved in some of the decision makings that may affect me and my community in the future. I believe that there's a lot that I can learn over the course of sitting on the board, including more about each and every one of you and what's important to you guys in our community as well.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lambert, you got about 3 minutes left. Any questions for us?
What's an ideal candidate?
Anybody want to jump in?
I think someone who comes well prepared, reading the materials, wants to engage with other, opinions, and really see that the time is being used proactively to make whatever that commission's effort is successful. So whether that's new ideas and initiatives, doing, reviews of current projects, helping give feedback to the staff on things that they're looking for, perspective on. I think a proactive approach that's willing to be creative and to work with others, both in the meetings and perhaps in like some committees outside of the meetings is really useful.
Is there any history or career path that you find has worked well on a board?
I don't think so. I don't think that there's any one specific career path that people have that brings to the board. I think it's just coming in with fresh ideas, being willing to just say, why are we doing it this way kind of thing? Or why haven't we done this before? I like to see that type of approach with some of the boards that we all sit on some of these boards as liaisons. And so just getting that feedback from the citizens in terms of what it is that they're looking to improve on benefits us because it's just a different viewpoint that obviously we want to hear as well. But I don't think that there's any specific track that makes you better or worse for a specific board.
Yeah, I mean, along with what the mayor said, one of the things I like about boards and commissions is that they give lay people an opportunity to explore ideas and talk about influence areas that might be outside of their professional experience. And I think you get a lot of things from that you wouldn't get if you were just inside an echo chamber.
Right.
So that's what I like about having a diverse group who may or may not have the professional skills that would normally be associated with that area of service.
And hopefully our commissions look as diverse as our city is,
Okay.
and that give us the best results and the best ideas.
I think I would follow up with something that you asked me, because I'm looking for the Parks and Rec, because I feel it's a better fit for me, at least at this point in time in my life, because of my experience. Could you tell me, as a group, what do you think the biggest focus on that board needs to be over the next 12 months?
Well, I was going to say the big thing that's coming up is potentially the renewal of the GO. So just the parks are potentially looking at additional revenues in order to make enhancements across the entire parks, all the city parks. So that commission is going to be that board is going to be looking at that long and hard over the next year. And if it passes, obviously over the next 3 to 5 years.
I think specifically, for parks and as well as recreational facilities, how would we want to use that money and what would we want to present to the citizens and what would be the best use of, all the parks can use something, do we want to do more in the swimming pool in the rec center or more in Pirates Cove or more in, Big Logan, having that input's really helpful.
And I would also add, we've got the off of, is it Windermere? There's the big discussions with the new retention park.
Yeah.
Should it be an off-leash park, dog park, or what are we going to be doing with that also? That's, campaigning. Tina and I both have recently been elected, and during campaigning, that was a big topic.
People want their open space.
And they want their off-leash dog parks in Jason. They don't want just Jason off-leash. They want that new area off-leash. Very vocal about it, so that's going to be a big area of discussion.
Yeah, you still interested, Mr. Lambert?
Yes, I am. I really don't have any more questions for you guys.
Well, Mr. Lambert, thanks for making time for us tonight. We're going to be deliberating tomorrow night after all the interviews. We'll make a final decision on February 5th. And at that point, somebody from the city clerk's office will reach out to you during that week. So Mr. Lambert, it was great to meet you. Thanks for making time for us tonight, and
Very much.
look forward to speaking to you more in the future.
All right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Nice meeting all
Nice
of
to
you.
meet you as well.
Have a great evening.
Good night.
All right, everyone. Let's see, Jackie, that should be, well, that is for everything for tonight. I'm not sure how many we have left for tomorrow night, but I think it's a pretty quick evening. Let's see, Jackie, how many do we have left for tomorrow night?
I think 6.
We have 6, and that includes the names that weren't able to do today potentially.
No, it would just be Cassandra.
So Cassandra's the only one that we may move to tomorrow night, so, okay. So about 7, so, and then after those 7s, obviously, we're gonna deliberate and go through all the names and where they should potentially fit, so. Any other questions? All right, we'll just be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock start, and I think dinner will be served prior to that. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.